I can't. I'm petrified with these fucking pills. I'm petrified with everything. You know why they don't prescribe a lot of pills to you anymore, like 90s? Because people OD. So when they prescribe me my oxys, they prescribe them 21, and they want you to take one every 8 hours. But they're not considering PT. And when you go to PT and they fucking straighten you, so you need one after PT, so that's 4 a day. So you always come up short. So you have to beg them, like call them and beg them. And so what I started doing was not taking the daytime one.
Save it for later.
Just save it for later, because if not, I could live off it's the nighttime shin pain that was really killing me. I could live off, I had pain before the surgery. Why do you think I had fucking surgery? So the leaves and shit, but this pain, you need heavy duty. But that's why, and if you take them at night, you can't fucking sleep.
Really?
Yeah, fucks with my sleep. I can't fucking sleep. So it's this whole pain drug thing is a fucking nightmare. Here's the funny thing. They talk about this opioid fucking, everybody's on opioids. I gotta tell you something. I know a lot of people. On Sunday, all I needed was one pill. One pill. I just needed a pill to take me through Sunday after the
edge off.
Yeah, take the edge off. And I didn't have it. I did everything. Ice baths. I had my wife freeze cups and fucking rub my legs with the thing. I finally took that bottle of Smoky Mountain. Remember that edible we showed the Friendly Farm?
Mm-hmm.
I took half the bottle and
I
I put it in a tea. And I fucking drank it, and that was it. Night, Irene, dog. Night, Irene. I couldn't do it. And reefer helps with the pain. CBD line is tremendous with the pain. But there's a point of this leg. Not anymore. I think I've gone over the hump. Yeah, I think I got over the hump. But today I want to talk about something that nobody ever talks about. I definitely did it the wrong way. And this idea sparked in my head about a week and a half ago. And today's my dear friend Ralphie May's birthday. He would have been, I don't know how old it would have been. It doesn't make a difference. He's dead 4 years today. So I don't know how long this podcast is going to last, just because I've had problems with this for the last couple of days. I'm going to get it together and talk to you about this. And I'm fine now. Anyway, what happened was this. We've lost, I don't know how many numbers to COVID. I can't even start to count or the calculations. I don't know if it's real or not. I know one thing is real. Death is real. Whether you died of a bullet wound or you died of COVID, they put COVID on your thing. It doesn't really matter. This is not what this podcast is about today. This podcast is about learning how to deal with a loss, with mourning. I think right now, listen, I could bring you over my house and show you my emails, my Facebook and my Patreon. And I will make this bet. I will make this bet with you guys that I will bet $50 that every day the last 6 months, except for maybe 3 days, I have gotten a fucking email from somebody telling me that either they lost a grandmother, a father, a mother to cancer, or not cancer, I'm so sorry, COVID, every fucking day since, let's just play it since April. I could guarantee you, I'll bet 10 of you, $50, that if you go through my Patreon, you're going to find a death every day except maybe 3 or 4 days. If you don't think this takes a toll on a guy like me, you're wrong. I know where you're coming from. When you send me that email, I know exactly where the fuck you're coming from, because I was that person. I hope you guys never forget that. And I was 16. What's this show? Alone and Naked in an Island?
Naked in
Yeah, fuck that. I was alone in 16. when I found that woman on the fucking floor, okay? And just that alone is enough to traumatize anybody. Anybody. It's the reason why I stopped doing blow, because I didn't want this great woman that I have as a wife to find my fat fucking ass, 400-pound ass on the floor. She would have never recovered from it. How do I know? Because I know what it takes to recover from that. Half of you's found your parents. Half of you's got a chance to say goodbye. My dear, dear friend, I talk him off a fucking rope once a month because his mom died in Florida and they had to say goodbye on FaceTime. I know I make a lot of jokes and stuff, but that's my way of dealing with fucking mourning. You don't deal with mourning by fucking going to somebody's house crying. You deal with mourning by walking into somebody's house with a face of a man, and you're controlled, because if you're controlled, then that'll control them. Eventually you'll break down like I did here, but it's mourning. It takes time. And if you don't do it right, you will end up like I did, in a 27-year addiction or a bad relationship, because you didn't deal with the death. How do I know this? Let's go to what started this whole thing. About a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, I was on the phone with my dear friend Steve Avillo. He's been on the podcast before. And we were talking. And he was, you know, I hope he doesn't get mad at me for repeating this online. He said that he was stressed when his wife was pregnant, because what if he died and left his wife and kid the way his dad had passed? And he said that he never dealt with it. And I had to stop him right there. I go, Avils, your dad died a year before my mom. Your dad died in 78. My mom died in 79. I go, what did you expect us to do? We did what we knew how to do, was going back to being a kid. Do you understand me? We went back to being a kid. Like, I buried my wife, my wife, God forbid. I buried my mom and went to the playground. Like, I went to like a little thing, we ate cold cuts or whatever, and right from there, you know, you resume life. You know, when you're 30 and when you're 40 and somebody dies, you feel more of an impact. But when you're young, you go back to your activities. You were gonna suck Susie's titties at the prom Thursday night. You know, I'm going back to sucking on Susie's titties Thursday night, you know. And what do? So we sweep that thing under the carpet, and what happens is you deal with people all day long, right? You deal with people all day long, and when does that thought creep up on you? At night. At night, when you're alone, and it's just you and your thoughts. Oh my God, that's when you remind, I swear to God, for me, that's how it was. I dove myself into my friends so much that, you know, 8 in the morning, on a bus, going to school, high school, I had a job, Rendell Lumber. After Rendell Lumber, I was home very lightly, a shower, eat, gone again, because I didn't want my mind to settle, because if I settled, I would think of my mom's death, and I'd make me want to kill myself. I didn't know how to deal with it. You want me to tell you when it came back to bite me in the ass? And now you understand my story a little better. It came back to bite me in the ass. Why do you think I ended up homeless? Well, that year is where that emotion came out. You know, all through those years, I was Johnny Rocco, I was with my buddies, Stinky, Fernie, Pally, we're out every night. We're doing this, we're doing that. You're getting your dick sucked. I'm on Colorado with Jimmy Burkle. I'm having a great time. Finally, something was wrong with me in '84. It was like, I didn't know what it was. And, you know, the pain was dying to come out. The pain, it was in there, but I kept tucking it in, tucking it in, tucking it in, tucking it in. The pain was there, but something wasn't right. I went to visit my uncle. He brought up some memories. And guys, after that, I fucking spun out of control. Any drug, every pill, you know, whatever I needed to take to kill that pain. It was, and I didn't know what it was. I was 20 fucking years old. I didn't know what pain, I had no idea that pain, once you set that pain loose inside your body, what do you think fucking happens? You don't care. So I didn't care. And then when I finally realized that I mean, I've told you stories about my mother. I saw them put her in the ground, and I would still go to my house at night just to see if it was a mistake. I would still go to my house at night to see if her light was on. That's how fucked up I was. And right now, all these, I'm not saying all these that listen to the podcast, but most of these know people or maybe have a relative that has passed. And you're going through this exact thing right now. You're throwing everything at it so you don't realize what's going on, that you're in pain. Eventually, you're going to have to pay the piper. You could either pay me now or pay me later. Well, my payment started in 1984, and it didn't end until 2007. And I threw more pain on top of it. I threw the pain of my divorce. I threw the pain of not seeing my kid. You know, anytime pain stuck, it would lift all those feelings up. It would lift all those emotions up. And what happens when you lift all those emotions up? What's the only thing that can take care of that? Forget that. It was more like, you know, that's what happens. That's what happens. You got to keep that pain low. So I did it completely the wrong way. And even today, between Ralphie and Brody, I won't accept it. I just won't accept it. I have not taken Brody's number out of here, okay? Not because I'm a scumbag. I just haven't. I can't. You know, people kept thinking, oh, look, Ralphie, right there. Ralphie, right there. You know, it's not, I'm not ready yet. And today, him being his birthday, I'm happy that this fell on, what's it say there? Brody. I'm not lying to you motherfuckers. I'm the biggest pussy when it comes to mourning because I don't want to deal with it, because it brings up Anthony Balzano. It brings up Denora Valdez. It brings up Dominic Special. It brings up anybody else who's died. You understand me? So that's why I don't like dealing with it. But now he's been dead for 4 years. It's time for me to sit down and write about Ralphie and what he meant to me and what he wanted from me. And I knew that I know for a fact, if that couch was a fucking hospital bed and I walked in there, I know what Ralphie would say to me and what he'd want me to do with the rest of my life. And I did that. I did that. I used to go train on Thursdays. I used to train on Mondays and Thursdays before I left LA. And every Thursday was in Burbank. Monday was in, she took me Monday to Studio City, and Thursday was in Burbank. You don't know how many times I sat Ralphie down. I go, Ralphie, let's do it this way. Let's go on the road Thursday and do 4 shows and come back Sunday. I'll open for you. You don't have to pay me anything. I don't give a fuck. I just want to help you get in shape. Let's work out before you get on the fucking plane. And then, you know, so every Thursday I would work out at 12. I swear to God, every time I would make the fucking, I do this as the blinker. You know I'm retarded. I use my blinkers. When I do this to pop the blinker and I would make it right, I would always look and go, Ralphie, this is what you should have been doing on a Thursday morning. Was going to a workout. We go home now, we eat, and we head to the airport. We catch a 5 o'clock plane out to whatever fucking city we're going to. We have a late night dinner. And Friday morning, we go do the 2 shows at a fucking theater. And we're home Sunday. We could eat dinner with our families. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we could work out and be healthy. So I know what I proposed to him. And I know if he was in a hospital bed dying, what he would tell me. And I wrote it out, and I fucking lived that life. You know, you guys have seen that I've lost weight throughout the last couple of years, especially after Ralphie's death, because I put his name on my lifestyle. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. everything changes. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to talk to you people about mourning and what does it mean. It's like when I came here and I wasn't prepared. If you look at the podcast in October and some in November, Joey wasn't with you. It was some other person. It was because I was mourning. I was mourning the death of my life in LA, the house, my friends, you know, Dean Del Rey, Steve Simone, Lee, Rogan, Red Band. I was missing them. The Comedy Store. I had to come to terms with all those things. So think about all the things I had to mourn the last fucking 9 fucking months, 8 months. I've been here 6 months on Friday. So all these things. But this time I did it right because I wrote about it. When my mother died, I did with Gots. I just, you know, this was my fucking, you know, that's what I did to take care of the mourning. When somebody dies and you leave that cemetery, like when my sister-in-law died, and I drove to Delaware and I went to the wake. I love my sister-in-law. And you want me to tell you something? My sister-in-law loved me. She fucking backed my comedy career. She financed, she was another one of those people that I was in a bind and I contacted her and she sent me money without even blinking an eye. You know, it was between this and not doing the gig, you're doing that fucking gig. Go do your gig. Here's $20 for gas, whatever you need, a suit. Listen, you know, what I did when I went, I was supposed to do a guest set that night for Tim Dillon. And I drove up to North Brunswick, and as I was pulling up, my sister called and she goes, "Have you spoken to Mike?" And I go, "Yeah, this afternoon, family reunion." And she goes, "No, everything changed. His wife died." And I remember I said, "I gotta call you back." I tried calling Mike, he didn't answer. I drove back, it's just like a 20-minute ride, and I drove back, and I remember I told my wife that my sister-in-law died. And I didn't cry, I wasn't like, you know, I'm not one of those people. It takes time with me. It takes time with me. And, you know, I played with the baby, whatever. I went to bed, and that night I went in my notebook, and I wrote about Sherry. Her name was Sherry. And I wrote about Sherry, how I had met her, how we came to fall in love. You know, she was my sister-in-law, but I loved her as much as my brother. She had my back. When she had her third daughter, Alexa, I spent the last 4 months of her pregnancy with her every night. I was her personal butler. I was broke. I was a mooch, and I was living off her. And every night I would stand by. My brother would go out to shoot darts. Shit, he's a nut. And he goes, "Stay home with my wife." And me and her, I would smoke pot and blow the smoke in her face. She couldn't smoke pot, so she just wanted me to blow the smoke at her. And she fucking would give me money to go get Chinese food. And we watched Goodfellas every fucking night. Every fucking night. And if I did comedy, I'd come home early and we'd do the same shit over and over again. Chinese food, Goodfellas, and she'd make me blow pot smoke at her. But she always pushed for my comedy. And she told me something once about one of my jokes, and I stopped doing the joke. But my sister-in-law, when my sister-in-law died, I just came downstairs and I wrote about it. And I wrote about our relationship, how we became friends, what she had done for me, what I had done for her, and what she would have told me in that casket. As creepy as this sounds, when a person is in a casket and you're looking at them in a wake, you're thinking about your times with them. Like with her, they had like a screen, like an LED screen, and they had like pictures of the family, and it showed a picture of us at the Borgata by a slot machine, and my fucking heart stopped. And you know, it was me and her. I had a relationship with my brother, and I had my relationship with my sister-in-law, and I loved her to death. So I came up with the conclusion the same way I mourned my mother, how I came up with my mother, how I came up with Dominic and Anthony, and I do this with everybody. Marilyn, you know, when Marilyn Martinez died in 2007, I stopped snorting coke maybe a week after that, you know. And in September. Marilyn died November like 3rd or November 1st or something. Rick Ramos' birthday, but in September she had something in the house. They were like a little party and get together. You could tell she had a couple of days left. She wasn't gonna live. And then we were having a conversation, and she was telling me that if she ever lived, she wouldn't do dirty comedy anymore. And in the conversation, she said, she looked at me, and she goes, "Hey, Joey, you have to stop doing cocaine." And I took it like as a message from God. Like, you know me, dog, I look for messages. I was like, why would me and Marilyn be having a conversation about comedy? And all of a sudden, she just comes out and says, I have to stop doing cocaine. Well, I'll tell you guys, a week later, I stopped doing cocaine. And here we are 13 fucking years later. So what I decided to do was, every time somebody dies that's close to me, I think of what they wanted from me. Okay? What did they want for that person? You know, I want the best for Mike. I want Mike to grow up and be a man. He is a man. He's got 2 kids. He's supporting them. He's keeping a roof over his house. He's not a convicted felon. He's a gentleman. He brought my wife and daughter Valentine's Day presents. I mean, the kid's a great kid. He's living the life that I would want him to live. He doesn't snort glue. He's on time. You know, you think of that person and you go, what would that person would have wanted me to, what extraordinary thing would that person want from me? You know, I stopped snorting coke. The pain must have gone away. You know, my daughter, the pain must have gone away. You know, whatever, all these things, the pain just doesn't go away. You have to cut a deal with that pain and stick by that fucking deal. In my mother's case, I had a girlfriend. I was living with her for 4 or 5 years. I wasn't giving her 100% of Joe Diaz. I was giving her 50% of Joe Diaz because Joe Diaz's soul belonged to comedy. And I said, that's it, this has to stop. I have to give this girl 100% of Joey Diaz, or we're not gonna have a relationship. I also have to live the life that my mother wanted me to be. All my mother wanted out of me, she didn't want me to be a lawyer. I mean, listen, my mother wanted me to go to the army, to go to college, and then go fight a war. She wanted me to actually shoot people for this country. That's how much she loved America. But the thing she said to me 10 days before she died one night is, I just want you to grow up and be a man. And what does a man mean? That you go out fucking everything, or you get your dick sucked every night? No, that you adhere to your responsibilities as a man. Before the podcast started, Mikey was here. I got a call from my agent, who I love dearly. And I told him about something. I'm making a move. You know, I have to make another move in a different direction. And he was really cool with it. And I told Mike, this is how we do it. We have to deal with people like this, because if you don't, then you got nothing. You have to be straight with people. That's what a man does. You have to pay your debts. That's what a man does. You have to fucking open up a door. You have to do what a man does. So for me to make my mom's death easier, and dog, I did not figure this out at 20. That's why I had a rough 20. Why did I have a rough 30? Because I didn't figure this out. I didn't figure this out till I was 43 years old. And then I quit coke at 44. I wanted to grow up to be the man my mother wanted me to be. I stopped doing coke and I became the man my mother wanted me to be. I own a home, I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have a great relationship with my wife. My wife calls me Spider, right, from Goodfellas. You know that, right? My wife thinks I'm an idiot, so she calls me Spider, right? So people don't know, that's my other nickname, is Spider from Goodfellas. Yeah, please, we have a great relationship. I am very lucky. I treat her like a man. You know, she's going away this weekend with my daughter. They're going skiing and shit. I can't, obviously, what am I going to ski with one leg? You know, she was upset. Like, she came to me and she's like, I don't want to go, because it's your birthday. We're going to have a great weekend. I'm like, fuck you. I'm 58 years old. I've had my share of fucking birthdays. My birthday's Friday. We'll get a Carvel cake. We'll go to Uncle Vinny's. Not them. I'll come back. I'll hang out with you guys, and then you guys could leave Saturday morning. She goes, yeah, well, that's when we were going to leave anyway. I go, so then what's the big deal? Why do you feel guilty about leaving Saturday? And she said, well, I wanted it to be a whole weekend. I was going to make you a pineapple upside down cake. And I'm like, do I need a pineapple upside down cake? We're just going to make a Carvel cake on Friday. We have a tradition at the house. We eat a Carvel cake. Why would I want to buy, so I said, go. And she was like, are you serious? And I'm like, go. That's what a man does. It's not about me. It's about that little girl. Why did we move here? You think we moved here for me to be on Broadway tap dancing with Fred Astaire? No. We moved here so my little girl could be a normal little fucking girl. So Friday, Saturday, her, I think 4 moms and 1 dad. Only 1 dad is going. 1 dad is going with like fucking 12 kids, and they're renting some fucking thing. Yeah, no, they got. I think my wife got a suite for her and one of the other moms. But yeah, that's what a man does. I'm living a family. I have a family now. I have a life. Okay, yeah, I don't do comedy every night no more, but now I'm enjoying this part of it. So when somebody passes your easiest path to mourning, and I fucking hate myself for this, is right out. This is everything. I know it's getting old, but this is everything. And it's just 3 or 4 sentences. And I swear to God, the pain goes away. When I first did it, the pain went right away. Just acknowledging that I did it. I remember going into that living room. We lived in a 1-bedroom room, and I remember sitting on the couch going, I just lost. Oh wait, and then you write letters to them. Then I wrote a letter to my mother. So it's like a 3 process thing. You say a prayer, you write out the person, whatever, your aunt. You ever have one of those aunts? You go to the house, they would give you $3, and they always say, oh, I can't wait to see you in a play or whatever. You don't want to do a play. You know what? Go to a local theater group and do 1 play, just in the name of your aunt. 1 play. And once the play is over, don't do it again. I'm just using a play as an example. I forgot. Today's Ash Wednesday. Anyway, fuck! I gotta go get my ashes later on. In fact, we'll do it here. I'll do my own Ash Wednesday. I gotta find out what I'm gonna give up for Lent this year. I always give up something. I gotta give up something for Lent. But no, that's everybody's mourning right now, man. And my heart goes out to you and your families. And you can make this hard, or you can make this real easy. Alcohol does help. I'm not gonna lie to you, But it's just a fucking Band-Aid, and it'll haunt you for fucking ever. It'll haunt you. The way the Brody and whatever haunt me. I didn't go to Brody's send off. I don't do those things because I don't do well in those. I want to deal with it internally because that's the only way to deal with it. But you saw it. I still have it. I'm a loser. But I've already written out. Like I wrote out what Brody wanted out of me. I know what Brody would tell me out of his fucking deathbed. That doesn't take, be positive, the whole fucking thing, I'm sorry, but guys, this is the only way I can deal with this shit. So for him, I try to keep it more positive, for Brody every day. When I wake up, I have a little picture of him, I look at him, and I go, I gotta be positive, think strong, Yes! I know he'd want me to be a great comic. I know that he would smack me in the face if I told him I was retiring. Yeah, he would hit me in the face. Get the fuck out of here. With Ralphie, I knew what he was going to tell me because Ralphie loved when I killed. Ralphie loved it. Ralphie and Joe Rogan loved when I go up there and would not just go off. but go off. Like they didn't, Ralphie and Joe Rogan didn't want me to have a good set. They wanted me to go off. They want to see people walk. They want to see people fainting, and they want to see women crying. That's what they want out of you. If that's what they wanted, that's what I went for. With Ralphie would tell me, player, when you go up there and do that shit, he got. If you want it, you got it. You know, I mean, it's. You got to remember, guys, that Ralphie and I were unique. You know, people always fucking. When you're on Rogan, it's always so good. When Ralphie's on your show, listen, friendship. You know, there's no reason why two bears in a cave is so good. They're great friends. They've known each other for years. They live and they breathe for one another. When you have two people who breathe for one another doing a podcast and they're both funny, you got yourself a fucking problem. When I would do a podcast with Ralphie, we would fucking die laughing before, during, and after the fucking podcast. You know, whether it was the one with Bert Kreischer when he fell through his dollhouse and shit, or it was, you know, you look at the yellow and all that shit. I mean, we laughed our ass off. You know, the stronger the bond, the better your podcast you're going to get. Who are the best two podcasters I did podcasts with? Ralphie and Joe Rogan. The best. I listened to one Ralphie one the other night when he went off on Russians in the beginning. Like, why are you going off on Russians? And he told me later on that night, because the guy that sold him a tire was Russian and he beat him. And, you know, Ralphie always had his fucking things. But I talked to the Smash Brothers, Corey and Chad. I reached out to them last night and told them, you know, tomorrow's the day. And I had to verify what year he died. I don't even know when he died, 2017. So it's time for me to start doing some paperwork. It's time for me to eventually erase this fucking number, you know. One of my biggest guilts from LA was that I was leaving Ralphie's spirit there. I mean, he's buried in Arkansas. We got him the fucking tombstone. I'm all good. But some part of me still feels guilty that I didn't bring his spirit back with him. I don't even know if that's right. But Mike, you're probably right. He probably is right there. I had some weed missing. That fat fuck probably stole it. You know, when you have, I think one of the best things about comedy isn't the traveling, isn't the money. Performing is one of the top things for me. But the top thing is the friendships that you make through comedy. Like, it's different than a regular friendship. And for him and I, it was, I can't tell you how much he helped me. I mean, I can't tell you how, I like Mike. I love Mike. I know Mike lives in Jersey somewhere. I don't give a fuck where he lives. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't give a fuck where he lives. I know he's in Jersey. I know he's a Jersey guy. And I love him either way. Ralphie loved me so much. He's like, player, I'm coming to that North Bergen. I'm like, sure you are. He's like, I'm coming to North Bergen. I'm going to wait till you're there. I'm going to come and get you. Probably 19. I met Ralphie maybe 97. And by 99, Ralphie came to North Bergen. I was in North Bergen, and Ralphie came to Jersey. This is way before Ralphie blew up. Okay, Ralphie, nobody knew who Ralphie was. Just the people in Houston, Texas. It was me and Ralphie living in that building with that fucking crew of people. God bless their soul. Gavin, Celine, rest in peace. Jody, Stacy. I mean, we had a great fucking building. My man Ricky Cruz kicking ass down in Miami. We had a great fucking crew. We were a family. And me and Ralphie sat there and we wrote so many fucking jokes together. There's a special of Ralphie's with a yellow leather jacket. Watch that. Listen to that special. And tell me that that's not him and me writing together. There's a couple of his specials. It was just me and him ginning, and I never made him fucking write it on there that I wrote. I don't give a fuck. He's my brother. The guy fed me when I fucking needed food. You know, he gave me money. When he became a superstar, he fucking supported me, that guy. When everybody else was giving me chocolates, he was giving me stacks of $100 bills. You know, when I got surgery with my one shoulder, I couldn't work 1 month. He came right over and gave me cash. This wasn't about that stuff. I've never even repeated this about the specials. It was just me and him, like, just talking and writing shit, and he would say, let me take that, take it. I don't give a fuck. What am I, a fucking, what do I give a Seinfeld? I don't give a fuck. Take it. I don't give a fuck. But one of the best stories I remember about me and Ralphie, if there's one story that I love about me and Ralphie, was, I'll tell you this, I'll make it quick. There used to be a club called Spellbinders in Houston, Texas. In the late 90s, mid 90s, whenever Ralphie got into comedy, you had the comedy that the one family owned outside. There was 3 comedy clubs. There was the Lab Stop, the Lab Spot, there was Spellbinders, and then there was Danny Martinez's room. There was 4 rooms. Ralphie cut his teeth on Danny Martinez's room. Everybody else called him fat and shit. Danny was his mentor. You know, Danny was also very good to me. I think Danny's gone now, rest in peace. But Ralphie would go to Spellbinders from time to time. This is a true story. I guess he went to the owner of Danny one day, and he's like, hey, I'm going to go to Spellbinders, and Danny's feelings got hurt. You know, club owners usually do. They get hurt. They're like, you know, you fucking, but you can't get hurt. It's just the business. Ralph went over to Spellbinders, 20 minutes into his set, he fell through the stage. You can't fucking write this, okay? You can't fucking write this at all. So, I never knew about it. You know, after we became friends, like after like maybe 3 months, somebody said to him in front of me, and he turned fucking pale. He was embarrassed because he knew I wouldn't let it go, okay? He knew I wasn't gonna let it go. So, you know, the lady who booked the place, her name was either Lynn Carnes or Kim Carnes. Who's the singer? Kim Carnes or something like that? Lynn Kim. Anyway, it doesn't really, I think her name was Lynn Carnes. I think, don't fact check me on this. This is 30 years of reefer, you know, 40. More like fucking 45 years of. So he went through the stage and then he sued him, which made it worse. So he wasn't allowed to play the club. So I didn't know. I go to Houston, you know, with Rogan, and I go, let me call Spellbinders and see if I can do like a guest spot. Maybe I can work in there, you know. The last stop was a great club. I was working there as a feature, but if I could come down here and put a couple feature weeks together, I could stay in Houston. You know, you got Beaumont, you got New Orleans, you got all that shit down there, you know. So I called the lady from Spellbinders, and I'm like, hi, my name is Joey Diaz. I'd like to do a guest spot. And she's like, you can't this weekend, but next time you're in town, you're more than welcome to stop by. In that process is when I found out about Ralphie May. So I you know, somebody said something to him. I was doing something. He didn't think I heard it, but I heard it. So again, I didn't tell him. It was like when Lee got the hand job in Vegas from the Chinese fucking hand job place, and Larry told me right away. I didn't tell Lee right away. I gave Lee like 6 weeks. The same thing I did to Ralphie. I didn't tell Ralphie. I knew that he fell through the stage right away. I gave him like 6 weeks, you know. And one day we're talking about comedy clubs, and I'm like, tell me about Spellbinders. And he just looked at me like, what do you know? And I'm like, did you really fall down the stage of Spellbinders? He's like, Jesus fucking Christ. People start rumors. There was a little hole and it wasn't just me. It was a hole that kept cracking, and then, Ralphie, you went through the fucking stage. So he's like, yeah, it was a long time ago, and blah, blah, blah. But then he sued her. That's how he bought the Forerunner and all that shit. So, you know, Kim Carnes or Lynn Carnes didn't want to hear a word of Ralphie May, like nothing. So that's it. You know what? I don't need to work Spellbinders. You know, I was gonna work the laptop a lot more. He gave me a week with Bobby Slayton, so I would call her every day. I would get somebody to call her every day and go, hi, my name is Mike. I'd like to do a guest set. Ralphie May referred me. And you would hear the crack in her. I would call her in front of Ralphie. I would be with Ralphie, and he'd go, what are you doing? I'm calling Spellbinders to see if they give me a weekend. He'd go, put that fucking phone down. I go, no, watch. Hi, Lynn. My name is Pete Patello. Ralphie May referred me. Can you? And she'd just hang up on me. So many people were doing it to her, like referring them from Ralphie May. And she knew it was a fucking prank of some type. And that was the end of that. So, yeah, she had to change it. No, they closed down. In fact, they closed down, and then the Improv moved into Spellbinders. Now they moved out across the street into a bigger location. But it's been 4 years, brother, and I fucking miss you. I miss you. I miss you a lot, and I learned a lot from you. There's no two people that I learned more about this business than you and Joe Rogan. You both had two different styles, but you did it your way, like fucking Sinatra, and that's why I love you. Ralphie taught me things that he knew things about comedy I never even thought of knowing. Ralphie was a real comic. He knew little things that would make your fucking head blow up, and he taught them all to me. He showed me his bag of tricks, and I got a bag of tricks. That's what it is. It's just trickery. It's just like fucking being a magician. Ralphie had tricks, and he was that way ahead of the fucking game. He would tell me about those tricks, and that's why I'm the comic I am today. It was because of Ralphie May and Joe Rogan, man. But the Ralphie, you know, I got upset in the beginning of the podcast and whatnot. I've mourned him as much as I can in the way that I've written about him. Like, I didn't make the mistake I made with my mother and other people who passed. Like with Brody and Ralphie, I've done it right. I've written about him. I've gotten it out of my system. I'm still not at the point to get him out of my phone. That takes time. That's maybe 1 more year. Give me 1 more year. Maybe next year I'll take it out of my phone. But mourning is rough, guys. It's not something that happens overnight. You know, I once described it, if you watch the documentary, when you lose a loved one or you lose your mother. For me, this is the simplest way I could put it. It's like eating food with no salt on it the rest of your life. I still got a life. I'm very happy. I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have great friends, I have a dear community, but my mother's not in my world. And that's fucking rough. That's rough. She never got to see all this. I'm not crying. I'm not complaining. But it's rough. And I know a lot of you have gone through this without a mother, an aunt, an uncle, a grandfather. Grab the notebook. 2 things. What would they say to me on their deathbed? What would they want from me? What great quality would they want me to put out there of mine? Think about it. You know, with Ralphie, he always told me, you're the best storyteller player. He would tell me not even to go on stage and tell jokes. He goes, you're wasting your time. Just go up there and tell stories. Just go up there and tell stories. And I wouldn't listen to him. Ari fucking put that thing together. I listened to him. Watched those things. That's because of Ralphie. Ralphie and Ari. That's what it basically is. So all this shit that you see online, all this shit that you read that had nothing to do with me. My friends were solid. My comedy community was solid. Rogan, Josh Wolf, Ralphie May, you know, we were solid over there. Stanhope. There was a time when that was the neighborhood. Vista, these are streets I'm calling that go in a row, was Josh Wolf. Gardner was Ralphie May. Sierra Bonita was Nick DiPaolo and Mitch Hedberg, and Curson was Doug Stanhope. Those were 4 LA blocks next to each other. What education is better than that? To have those 4 as fucking neighbors. How lucky was I? And I did something that a lot of people don't do. I took advantage. I took advantage of that. I asked questions. I never stopped asking questions, even though, what's with the questions? You know what I mean? Comedy stuff, you know, like just talking, rapping. That was all we did, was talk comedy. There wasn't sports, it wasn't girls, it wasn't about blowjobs. All we did was the art of comedy. That was what those guys, I'll never forget one day Doug Stanhope called me up and he's like, yo man, I don't know what's going on, but fucking, I came home and Ralphie was making out with my mother and I caught him and now he ran away. He sped off with his car. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And I get in my fucking car and I fly over to Doug Stanhope's, and there's Ralphie and Doug Stanhope's mom laughing at me. They were playing a prank on me. They said that Ralphie took off with Stanhope's mother, so Stanhope didn't know what to do. Stanhope fucked me in the ass. That's why Stanhope was trying to fuck with me. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I caught Ralphie making out with my mother, and fucking when I confronted them, they both ran off. Ralphie was there with me when fucking Doug Stanhope's mother used to save cats that were all missing something, an ear, an eye, a leg. So one time we were all over there and Mrs. Stanhope one of the cats died, and she put a towel down with a shrine, with a cat, the dead cat, with the dead cat on the towel, and like candles, like a wake, and all the cats sat around looking at that cat, and me and Ralphie are like, look at those cats. They're probably looking at each other going, hey, I could use that ear. Nah, I could use that tail. Hey, I could use that fucking tooth. Because every one of her cats was missing something. An arm, a leg. So this is the shit. This is the, you know, guys, when I go deep, you know, this is why I can never have depression. I won't let myself go into depression. No matter how sad I get sometimes, no matter how much I beat myself up, no matter, because I'm fucking rough on myself, no matter how bad I'm feeling about something, when I think of these stories with Ralphie, I just think of Ralphie. I just think of Ralphie. And I'll laugh, just the dollhouse cracks me up. Never mind the Doug Stanhope's mother, never mind the fucking when he fell on Gardner. And I'm trying to pick him up and I couldn't. And I told him that I couldn't pick him up because the cops were gonna come. They were gonna think I was mugging him and he had to get up by himself. Because there we are in the middle of the street in front of the fire department. And I'm tugging on one arm. I can't pick him up. He's 500 fucking pounds, you know. Whenever I get down, I'm on a plane, something's not going my way, I think about Ralphie. I think about Brody, you know. I don't ever want to forget about Brody. I don't ever want to forget about Ralphie. You know, I don't know when Brody's birthday is. I know Brody died around February, I think. I don't remember either. I think I was going, because I found out about Brody when I got on a plane. When I went to sit down, Steve Simone called me. That was a long fucking hour flight, and I had to perform that night. So I threw my performance out of respect for Brody Stevens that night. But back to the topic we were talking about, forget about Brody and forget about Ralphie. Rest their souls. I love yous both. Happy birthday in heaven, Ralphie. I know you people are going through a lot. And I know that you people either know someone or have lost a dear relative or whatever, and you're moving through life like nothing happened, and you think you're okay. That's okay, but something happened, and you have to address it at some point in your life. If not, it will come back to haunt you. I'm not talking about that aunt that lived in Connecticut that you hardly seen. I want you to have empathy for her, and I want you to pray for her and light a candle for her. Yeah, I'm talking about those people that are really special now in your life, that when they go, you're left fucking lost. You're just left there lost. You don't know how the fuck to feel. I answer those messages every fucking day. You know, some kid hit me up yesterday. Again, very anonymous. I'm not here to talk about names. A guy on Patreon said he lost his mother last week. And he goes, now I want to thank you for every single word you've ever fucking said. And it just destroyed me. It destroyed me, because that's what I'm here for, guys. I'm not here to fucking make you laugh. I'm not here to fucking have a snot fucking out of my nose. I'm here so you guys can learn from me, from the mistakes I made. Don't do this shit. All the dumb shit I did growing up and stuff, it was fun while it lasted. But I want you guys to learn to do it the right way, and not to put up with the shit I put up with. You don't have to put up with this shit. If you're not a junkie like I was, you're a cop, like Jim Florentine. You're a decent fucking person, and nobody's gonna give you shit, and you have to stick up for yourself. Ralphie, you know, this is why I do this podcast. Not because I'm better than you or any of that shit, because you can learn from me. You can learn from my fucking mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes I made was not mourning my mom right. It turned me into a fucking junkie. And it took the grace of God for me to understand mourning. And that's what made this process a lot easier. When Mike called me and he said, we're starting this up October 1st, I had already written out my mourning. Was I prepared? I wasn't prepared. But eternally, I was getting there. I was working towards it. And here we are today. We're at like 87% right now. I'm at like 87%. If I tell you something, I don't want you to get excited about it. I'm excited about it. I actually got excited last night about doing stand-up this weekend. So, don't believe Joe Diaz. He doesn't know if he's gonna fucking retire. What are you listening to that fucking idiot for? What are you listening to me for? It's the truth. Nobody knows what the fuck's gonna go on right now. As of last Sunday, I felt so shitty, or Monday, or even last week, because I haven't been on stage, guys. That's why I feel shitty. I figured it out. I have not been on stage since January 4th. So this weekend, last night I was making some tea and I'm like, I'm pretty fucking excited. I get to try out one new joke. I got one joke I got confidence on. So if you're expecting a bunch of new jokes, don't come on Friday, because I got one new bit I got confidence in. All the other stuff I've written, I don't have the confidence Relief Band or Alpha Brain has. You know what I'm saying? On it. I don't have that type of confidence to tell you. You could get your money back, because I don't know. But we're going to try our best. I'll tell a couple stories. We'll tell a Ralphie May story or something. And we'll pull it through. But I am excited this weekend about doing stand-up. That makes me fucking excited, that I'm excited about doing stand-up. I'm sorry about my cousin, the snot that came out last week. You know, and I felt him there for a minute. But I didn't want to dig in front of you, because then you're like, Joy was digging for fucking snots on the podcast. What type of fucking American is he?
Did you have to eat it?
And then I had to eat it. Yeah, because I'm not letting that go. Sometimes I'll just put it under the table, like a piece of gum, and save it for later. But then the snot gets too hard, and you got to, chump into it a little bit. And I got new teeth. I don't want no problems. You know what I'm saying? I want to save my teeth. I want to have to go back to fucking LA and see the fucking dentist again. But with that in mind, listen, man, I'm sorry about any of the losses in your life, and the bottle and drugs is not the fucking answer to mourning. It's a paper, it's a pen, it's devotion, it's going back to square one, what that person wanted for you. Your father wants something special for you. Your mother wants something special for you. Your sister saw you dance one day by yourself in the shower, and she thinks you're a great dancer. You should be a dancer. You're like, nah. You know what I'm saying? So when somebody dies, those are the questions you have to ask yourself. What would they say to me in the casket? What would they thank me for? And what is the person they would want me to become? Like, I'm not saying change. I'm saying that tighten one of your angles. Something that you're doing isn't tight, just tighten it up a little bit. Joey, you're cursing too much. Joey, you're doing this, you know. And that's what it is. Just try to become what that person thought you could be. You know, I never thought I would end up here, but my mother thought I could. I never thought I could grow up to be a fucking man. I was a fucking punk little fag, but I grew up to be a man. So if somebody believes it, there's a reason. Follow it and become that person for them, and the mourning process will be tip-top magoo. You know, I cried because of Ralphie, because I haven't mourned Ralphie. But I could talk about my mother all day long, and I won't fucking cry or get upset. I could talk all day long about Anthony Balzano and not cry and get upset. I could talk about Dominic Special. I could talk about a lot of people that I've lost and not get upset. Ralphie and Brody are still 4 years. Brody's probably 2 years, right? Brody's probably 2 years, yeah. And I'm not even, it'll be like maybe 10 years for me to mourn those guys. This was an easy mourn. The LA mourn, it got easier when I saw the smile on my daughter's face. When I saw my daughter saying, this has been the best day of my life. I got White Castle today. Okay, if White Castle makes you better, and if that's the best day of your life, fuck it. LA is dead. And that's it for the podcast. I got no dates. All I have is February 19th and 20th this week at Vinny's, which is sold out. The 24th at Vinny's, which is next Wednesday. And then all the Wednesdays at Vinny's in March. And then we'll decide from there what we're going to fucking do. But from the excitement I had last night about getting on stage Friday, who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows? Listen, guys, I love you guys. I want to thank all our sponsors for the week, but most importantly, I want to thank you guys for having my back every week, for watching. We keep growing, we're getting better every week, and we're getting stronger, and it's because of you. Thank you very much. Thank you for putting up with the snot and not reporting me to the authorities. Thank you for not spreading false rumors that Joey's back on coke. Just thank you. Thank you for being you guys. I love you guys. Patreon, $3, $5, and $10. And I'm around. It's Twitter, Facebook, you know I'm around. Mad Flavor. Stay black. I love you, motherfuckers. Have a great weekend. All right, I want to thank you savages on a beautiful Wednesday morning for checking in and enjoying the podcast. It wasn't the podcast you really wanted to hear today. It was a tough one on me too, but that's what life is all about, is dealing with things. Before we leave, listen, I got to talk to you about something. A lot of people going through a lot of things, stress, you know, things are going on. You lose your focus. If you want your focus back, it starts with Alpha Brain. I love Alpha Brain. Memory and focus back. Couple days, you have some colored dreams. You do a cycle and you just try it one time. You're going to be hooked like I am. And if you don't like pills, they got the powder. And it's delicious. You just open it up. I think it has 3 different flavors. Tremendous. You got the protein puffs. You got the melatonin spray. They got a peanut butter chocolate protein bar, 7 grams of protein, just like an egg. Tremendous. What do you think I eat at night when I'm sitting there and I want a snack? That's exactly what I eat. A little protein bar, peanut butter cup. Go to onit.com right now. Unbelievable. 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 If you don't like Alpha Brain, they're not only gonna not send you your money back. You're gonna get your money back, but you can keep the product. Again, like Relief Band, when you do a statement like that, you're telling me you believe in your product 150%. That's why I trust on it. That's why I go with the Shroom Tech Immune and the Shroom Tech Sport and the Protein Puffs and Go to Onnit.com right now. Press in church and get 10% off delivered right to your crib. Onnit, the smarter way to go. The joint is also brought to you by Relief Band. Like I told you in the beginning, you know, a third of Americans suffer from nausea. A third of Americans suffer from nausea. They don't know what to do. I'm not really that type. I only get nauseated when I see a couple things. But I'll tell you what, that's why I'm excited about my new partner, Relief Band. Relief Band is the #1 FDA-cleared anti-nausea wristband that has been clinically proven to relieve and prevent nausea and vomiting. The product is 100% drug-free. It doesn't make you drowsy and has zero side effects. This is the kind of stuff, this band, you can only get it at a hospital patient. But now it's available to everybody. That means you. And how it works is this. Let me tell you something. You don't even need to be clinically proven. It got proven by me. Like I told you in the beginning, I went to PT. One day I forgot to put it on. I figured I don't need it today. On the way back, sure enough, I puked off, and I puked twice that day. So I don't like puking. You don't like puking. Nobody likes nausea. It helps with recuperation. It helps with seasickness. It helps with everything. This is an amazing band. It blocks the signal from your brain, sending it to your stomach, telling you that you're sick. That's science! Like my man Thomas Dolby was telling you in 1980. Anyway, Relief Band is the only over-the-counter wearable band that has been used in hospitals and oncology clinics to treat nausea and vomiting. Like I told you guys, this works. How do I know? Because I just had surgery and I haven't taken it off in 5 weeks. It's gonna be 6 weeks on Friday, my birthday also. So anyway, ensure nausea never is the reason to miss out on life's important moments. Right now, Relief Band has an exclusive offer just for Uncle Joey's Joint listeners. You ready? You go to reliefband.com, use promo code Joey, and you'll receive 20% off plus free shipping and no questions asked. 30-day money-back guarantee. So head over to Relief Band, RELIEFBAND.com, and use promo code Joey for 20% off and get some relief, all right? I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Relief Band, and I want to thank Onnit. I want to thank DraftKings. I want to thank CBD Lion. I want to thank Stamps. Anybody who sponsors us, we love you. We got your back. Thank you for having our back. And you guys at home, we love you. Listen, have a great week. I love you guys. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. And I'll see you guys Monday morning. Tip-top Magoo, ready to fucking go. I love you, cocksuckers.
you want to pull it up, but when you look at the polls, and I know we can get into whether or not you should even believe the polls, right? Because you don't think so, right?
Well, my thing with polls, I even have a bit on it. Like, who answers polls? Morons. So if you're listening to morons, like 46% of morons believe this. But nobody, a normal person with like a regular life, hey Kyle, may I have a few minutes of your time to ask you about politics? You don't say yes to that. Morons say yes to that. The people that you're polling are almost all morons.
Yeah.
Or lonely, or sad, or
Lonely or sad,
right?
It's true.
I get talk to a pollster.
Nobody polls me. I'm waiting every night for a call. I want to talk for hours about, and no one cares.
Yeah. Have you ever answered a poll?
I've never answered a poll. No.
Never. Have you?
I've never been called.
Jamie, have you ever answered a poll?
Not like a real one, no.
Not a real one.
I don't
for like
know
Kleenex.
I don't know-
Kleenex
I
reach
don't know
out to
who
you or
they
something.
call. I don't know who they call and why they call
I don't
them.
believe in polls, and I don't believe in Nielsen families. I don't think they're real. I've never met a Nielsen family.
That's a good point.
People say they have a friend. Oh, my friend's a Nielsen family.
Right.
Really?
Right. So our ratings, everything's just fake.
It's all fake.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
The news is now. We know.
Yeah.
The news is definitely fake. I'll give you that.
Remember when fake news? When you would hear fake news, you'd be like, oh, "That's such an unfortunate term." I hate when people say that because you know it's not fake.
You know Hillary started that, right? It wasn't Trump.
What?
Hillary was the original one who said fake news, and then Trump took it and ran with it, and now everybody thinks it's just a Trump thing.
No way. When did she do that?
I think the first time that term came up, she said something. It may have been in the context of like, oh, we need to regulate fake news online. Like fake news, there's all these stories that blow up on Facebook and they're not true, and maybe we should do something about it. And she used the term fake news in a speech, and then after that, it was Trump who started using it. Now everybody thinks it's been him all along.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, he used it a lot. That's for sure.
I mean, yeah, now it's his, obviously. I mean,
crazy,
he's
though, that-
got like a patent on it.
2016 was when we first heard that term. Like that, we have existed for a long time. There's been media for a long time. There's even been internet for a long time, relatively. And yet, fake news is a new thing. And now, but I used to think it was bullshit. I used to think it was a cheap cop-out for someone who didn't want to deal with facts, and they would just tell their people, hey, this is fake news. And you'd be like, but you know, that's not fake.
See, that's one of the reasons why I think Trump resonated, is because he would say stuff that I think people around the country just had a sense that he's right about it. Like, Joe, think about it. The media in this country lied us into the Iraq war.
Right.
If there was, like, that is the definition of fake news. Not only is it fake news, but it's fake news that led to the deaths of 200,000 innocent Iraqi civilians and thousands of our own soldiers.
When you say that, you don't think they were in on it.
No, I don't think. See, the way it works is, and Noam Chomsky's got a book called Manufacturing Consent, where he really dives into the specifics of this and gives you the mechanics of it. But basically, the way it works is, the people who get hired at these news outlets, they've all had like the proper training. They go to the Ivy League schools, they study journalism, and you only get promoted if they know you're really not going to rock the boat. And what I mean by that is you basically repeat the line that the government wants you to repeat. And so, when George W. Bush and Dick Cheney were out there making the case, a good little journalist says, oh, here's what the president says, and here's what the vice president says, and they're saying that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. And then you had Colin Powell go to the UN and hold up the uranium and say, oh, see, I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want the evidence to come in the form of a mushroom-shaped cloud?
Right.
That was them saying, we need to act now, and forget about proving it, we have to act now, and the media went right along with them.
Was there any doubt that they knew that was not true?
I think there are probably some people who made the argument who were convinced of the propaganda themselves. But no, the decision had been made long before that Saddam Hussein was on a list of rogue actors who we wanted to overthrow. And by the way, that list still exists today. So all this fighting that we do with Iran, they're on the list, and we want to overthrow them as well. Yeah, a lot of people don't know the history of it.
We want to get them bad.
Did you see they executed that Olympic wrestler?
No, why did they do that?
He went to a protest.
Oh, the Iranians executed?
Yeah, he went to a peaceful protest, and they wanted to make an example of him. He's an Olympic hero.
How did they execute him?
I don't know.
Jeez.
I don't know, but the UFC made a push. Dana White put out a video begging the government to please not execute him.
It's an authoritarian theocracy.
Yeah.
That's what happens. There's no social freedoms.
Yeah.
The idea of freedom of speech is totally foreign there.
Well, it's as you said, a theocracy. Like I talked about it with Glenn Greenwald too, that they They have an extraordinary high number of transgender women
Because they don't allow gay
They don't allow gays.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're a man, you're attracted to men, you have to become a woman.
Right.
But which is crazy that they're okay with that.
Very, in a weird way, kind of very progressive. like an incredibly progressive state where they're like, we're
Skip
gonna,
the gay
you know,
thing
we're
and
gonna
go right to
skip
the
this
trans
step.
thing.
We go right to.
Yeah, it's progressive and homophobic at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, super weird way.
Yeah.
This is the fucking like we're dealing with 2020. We're getting beheaded in France for showing cartoons.
I mean,
It's happening
listen.
all over again.
I was actually just talking about this earlier that, you know, one of our top allies, Saudi Arabia, they still behead people in the public square.
Yeah.
You know, and they do it for drug smuggling. They do it for apostasy. All these crimes that are not even really crimes, and they'll kill you.
That's crazy. That's happening in 2020. That's the thing that people, when people are not afraid of dictatorships or of the government running wild in America, I always try to tell them, like, North Korea is happening right now. Those
Yeah.
are human beings. Those are human beings that went down a path. Is it likely that we'll go down that same path? No. But human beings have been going down those paths from the beginning of language, from the beginning of time.
The strong man is a big, you know, the idea
Yeah.
of a strong man, the dictator, the person, I call all the shots.
That's why everybody's terrified of Trump. That's why a lot of intellectuals were terrified of Trump. They didn't like that language. They didn't like what people were attracted to about him because they knew where that led. They didn't
Yeah.
like what was the? It was a phrase that he said once where he was talking about, "I wish I was a dictator. It would be a lot easier." Remember that?
I don't remember that, no, and
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I would remember that quote.
Yeah, it
That's
was
what I
so-
remember.
He did something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. He's
Yeah.
like, if I was a dictator, this job would be easier or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
I think someone was calling him a dictator, and he's like, "I wish I was a dictator." But that's him lamenting the paperwork that he has to go through and all the
Lamenting the paperwork. Yeah.
And
I
the
mean, listen,
meetings.
the thing that drove me crazy is that, like, so you had under Bush and you had under Obama, basically the expansion of the security state, and you had like the Patriot Act, NSA spying, all these tools that are authoritarian tools that the government can use. And Trump correctly, when he ran, spoke about ending the wars, but then he gets in power and the wars continue. And then he gets in power. He didn't dismantle. He talks all the time about how the Obama campaign was spying on me. And I'm watching it like, if only you were in a position of power to do something about that. Like, disband the NSA.
But it weirdly,
Stop the NSA spying.
That's a good way to get shot.
Yeah, that's a good way to get.
And
put you
actually,
in a
Chuck
convertible.
Schumer made that point,
Yeah.
too, when he was on MSNBC. He had a moment of honesty where he was like, you don't mess with the guys in the intelligence agencies because they got 1,000 ways to Sunday to get back at you.
Right.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that he said to Trump. Glenn
brought that up. That's right.
Brought that up on
Yeah.
the podcast as well.
Well, also, it doesn't seem like Biden is more of a war hawk, though, in a weird way, and Kamala's more of a war hawk. It's about Russia. They're talking about Trump's too friendly with North Korea. He's too
Yes,
friendly with
on
Russia.
those issues, absolutely.
It's kind of weird. I'm like, shouldn't we be friendly with these nuclear powers that could...
But isn't that just to court the people on the right that maybe they find
No.
distasteful?
I think, well, listen, Biden was part of the Obama administration. We don't have to guess. They continued the wars. You know what I mean? And so I think Biden will continue the wars. And to your point, yes, there are specific issues like Russia, where what the Democrats say happens to be more hawkish.
It's more
you know?
bellicose than what the Republicans say.
But the thing that drives me crazy is that whenever any of them get in power, none of them just end the wars. None of them get out of Iraq. None of them get out of Afghanistan. Every now and then, Trump will fire off a tweet where he's like, we're getting out. And then one of his generals behind the scenes is like, no, we're not. And he's like, you're right, we're not. I was wrong about that.
Can we afford to get out of the wars? This is an ugly question.
Can we
Can we
afford-
afford to stop the wars now?
Afford?
Yeah, isn't it a moneymaker? Isn't that why
Oh,
we're
yeah.
there?
Well, military-industrial complex, sure.
I mean,
there are a
isn't it
lot of people
tough-
that make a
it's
lot of
just-
money from it.
It's a tough economy. Maybe we stop the wars in a couple of years. I don't know. I
No,
think
and actually, one time on
it just seems
CNN,
like an odd time.
Wolf Blitzer actually said that to Rand Paul. When Rand Paul made that argument, he was like, we should not be giving weapons to Saudi Arabia. And Wolf Blitzer's response was, yeah, but what about the jobs?
Right.
Did he
So,
really say that?
yes,
Crazy.
yes.
That's
So
so
he's like,
crazy.
I mean, listen, I know you don't want, like, babies to be bombed in Yemen by Saudi Arabia, but then again, Raytheon needs to make some money. What are you going
It's
to do?
such a dirty game.
I ran into him in a hotel in Vegas.
Does he exist as an actual person?
He's a
Because
human.
he's
human.
a robot, right?
He was coming out of the elevator, and I was coming towards him, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I wanted to go, hey man, can I ask you some questions? Just a few fucking minutes.
Yeah.
And then I didn't. I just said, hey, what's up? And I just got in the elevator, and I'm like, you should
He's what I alluded to before, which is the reason why he's on CNN for 47 hours a day is because that guy's not going to rock the boat.
Yeah.
that guy's going to ask the questions that the people in power want him to ask.
Right. Exactly. That's what's weird about the system, right? What's weird about the system when you see people like Chris Cuomo talking to his brother, and you know he's never going to bring up the nursing home thing.
And he was on CNN like every week.
Yeah, you get this one chance to talk. I mean, you've got a real issue.
Beyond, as serious as it gets, life and death issue, and he's directly in charge of it. He could fix it, and his brother's throwing softballs, talking about, you know, hey, remember we had meatballs the other week with the family?
Fucking guy, don't call me Fredo.
Yeah, I mean, they're disgusting people.
Do you know the fake weight controversy? I've been involved in the fake weight controversy.
Fake weight controversy?
Fake weight.
Oh, fake weight?
Because I bought into it. I was like, maybe he's just really strong. I thought he was bigger than he was, and I didn't realize how hard it is to lift a 100-pound dumbbell, which sounds ridiculous because I work out, but I don't do those kind of workouts. I'm like, maybe he's just really strong. And everybody was like, you're out of your fucking mind. Like, there's no way. Are you a moron? Like,
People were analyzing that like Building 7. Like, they were like freeze framing
they're
and
right,
going,
though.
take a
'cause
look.
I talked to Robert Oberst and Rob Kearney, who are real. These guys are real strongmen. You know, Rob Kearney's like one of the strongest. I think he's strongest man pound for pound in his weight class. And then Robert Oberst is a legitimate giant. He's like 300 plus pounds, and he's like he would have to be one of the strongest men I've ever seen in my life.
So
there's no way.
Let me just so I fill in the gaps here. Chris Cuomo is releasing videos of himself working out.
There's a photo.
Worse, sitting at a desk with a dumbbell that says 100 pounds on it, where these experts are saying there's no way it could be 100 pounds.
Dude, you're a news guy. What are you doing? Like, nobody wants to see you do that.
But there's a lot of weirdness, too, right? Like, how come they never brought up those tapes, the Michael Cohen tapes that Tucker Carlson was playing over and over and over again, where he's preparing Michael Cohen for the questions that he's going to ask him on CNN?
Who was preparing Michael Cohen?
Chris Cuomo was.
Chris
never
Cuomo
saw
was
that.
preparing. No, I never saw
because
that.
you're a fucking full-on lefty, and you don't
You're
even
acting
watch.
like, first of all, it's funny that you think I sit around and watch CNN and MSNBC all day. Are you fucking
not
kidding
even
me?
that. It's
I never
Fox.
waste my life.
Fox would spend day after day, like going over these tapes because I don't know how they got the tapes. It's never been clear.
Yeah.
But it's Chris Cuomo. It's like I think Michael Cohen probably bugged his room and taped all of his conversations and probably gave it to Tucker Carlson. Like maybe he's making some sort of behind-the-scenes deals because Cohen is. You know, he's been known to be a guy who...
He's Trump's fixer.
He's a fixer.
Yeah,
He
right.
does sleazy shit. And his thing with this was they were preparing him for the questions. You know, like Chris Cuomo was telling him how to answer the questions.
Right,
And he was going to, when it came to the payoff money for Stormy Daniels and all that stuff.
Which, by the way, you know, I really think that that's a perfect example of a kind of politics that simply doesn't work anymore. Back in like 1987, you want to have a story about like, oh, the president fucked a porn star or whatever. People would be all over it, and they'd be like, oh my God, this is ending him.
Depends
These
on
days,
the president. Depends on the president.
It depends on the president, but really what Trump shows is that all it takes to override scandals like that, I'm not saying all scandals, I'm saying scandals like that, is you puff your chest out and you say, wrong, I don't want to do any of this, we're going to talk about something else now. And eventually people go, all right, I think we're going to talk about something else now.
Everybody knows he fucks girls.
Right.
Like, this is not confusing.
Yeah,
Like,
he
who
was
is
he ran the Miss Universe pageant.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
He's a famous billionaire
Right.
who's had multiple wives.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's that fucking guy. Like,
Right.
mover, shaker guy.
But the best example of this is remember when they released the Access Hollywood tape? And, you know, he was caught on tape saying, I grabbed him by the pussy, I don't even wait. And then the media, I don't know if you remember the media reaction to that, but they were all convinced, like, that's it. The race is over.
Right.
He's going to drop out. Pence is going to take over, and it's going to be Pence versus Hillary Clinton. And his response to that, I think, showed this new era of politics, which is actually brilliant. You always go on the offense. So what he did is at the next debate, he brought all of Bill Clinton's accusers,
Yes.
and he had like 6 of them sitting there. And then when they asked him that question, which by the way, of course, was like the first question they asked him, he was like, listen, I'm not proud of what I said, but what I said was just words. It was just words. What
Locker
Bill
room
did
talk.
was actions. What he did was actions, and they're all right there. Bill, I think you should apologize to these people right here. And what you do is you flip it, and you go on the offense, and then the best defense is a good offense, and then he made it a wash. The issue is now a wash.
Also, in his case, that is a really good argument.
Of course it's a good argument.
It's not like a regular person.
Listen,
He's talking
listen.
about Bill Clinton, who's married to Hillary Clinton, who is his opponent. So her calling him a sexual predator is rich. I mean, that's
right.
rich.
And also, let's be serious. It just diverts from what we're really supposed to be talking about when we're discussing the most powerful person in the world. Tell me what you're going to do with the economy.
Right.
Tell me what you're going to do with taxes.
Right.
Tell me what you're going to do with infrastructure. Tell me what you're going to do with foreign policy. And if we're not having that conversation, I do think most Americans, there's something in them where they're just like, this is not serious.
No, let me ask you this. You say that he should have ended these wars. He should have disbanded the NSA.
I wouldn't go that far. Just stop the spying.
I don't even think it's possible. First of all, I don't think the president has that kind of power. I'm ignorant.
Well, technically he does. Like, technically he can, because that's an executive agency, and he controls the executive agencies.
So he could literally disband the NSA.
He could do whatever he wants with any of the executive agencies. So
good luck with that.
Well, that gets back to what we were saying before, the Schumer point of, like, no, they are going to fuck with you. And we've seen that.
But don't you think there's, I mean, for sure, some shady things have been done. But don't you think there's some benefit to having a really powerful agency like the NSA that understands how to spy on bad people and make sure that they don't get away with shit?
You have due process. Only if you follow the Constitution and have due process.
But how can you do that and still spy on people without warrants?
You got to show evidence. You got to show evidence to a judge. A judge will approve it, and then you can spy. But the way
judge has a big mouth.
But the way it works now, FISA courts is just a rubber stamp where they say, oh, we want to spy on this person. They don't even look. Whatever. That's fine. You should go spy on them. And that's where we are now, where the NSA could take everybody's metadata, everybody's information, and they could spy on you nonstop. So, if you do it and you follow the Constitution and you follow the law and you have, a reason, and you follow due process, well, then everybody's okay with it, because that's just called regular police work.
Kennedy wanted to disband the NSA, right?
And now he's dead. No, CIA.
Well,
it was CIA.
We were born.
He
Was
wanted
it just the CIA?
I think he was going after
He
the CIA.
wanted to give a lot of the peacetime military, the intelligence gathering capabilities to the Pentagon, to the military, and kind of get rid of the CIA's 24/7 unaccountable, war machine.
And look at what happened.
There's probably a lot of reasons why he was shot.
I mean,
there's probably multiple.
Maybe Marilyn Manson was pissed and hired a hitman or something.
Yeah. Not Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Monroe.
He had angered everybody.
New conspiracy.
I think
Marilyn Manson is fucking JFK.
It says something nice about our country that the deep state hasn't tried to kill Trump. I think that's like a nice thing. It says something nice.
He's keeping the wars going, right? He's keeping the wars going.
Sure, but I also think it's maybe they're getting a little softer, a little bit more
progressive.
They're more progressive, whatever it is. But I think it's nice that because they were killing everyone. Remember Bobby Kennedy, JFK, MLK. I mean, there was a period. It was just they were spraying bullets at everybody, and now it's kind of a light touch. We'll say he's a Soviet agent, or we'll.
Did you read that book that I told you about, Chaos, that Tom O'Neill book?
I read a few chapters of it. It's amazing.
It gets into that. It
really
gets into
good.
Bobby Kennedy at the end.
Yeah.
Like that Jolly
era.
West guy, the CIA
MK
guy.
Ultra, yeah.
That guy was involved with Jack Ruby. That guy was involved with
Sirhan
Sirhan.
Yeah.
He was involved with.
You should hear Robert Kennedy talk about it on the Mike Tyson podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a record of all 8 bullets that got fired out of that gun.
Their life in that war. People forget it's even happening.
I covered a story on my show. There was a father and a son. There was an article in some military outlet where the dad is talking about how now my son is going to the same war that I fought in. And, I pulled up a cartoon that was drawn in like 07 or something where somebody made that joke. Joking around like, yeah, haha, oh, father and son going to the same war. Then it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing.
It's, if you're into it, maybe they like it. I mean, that certain families want to be. Some people just want to go to war. I have friends that are in the military because they like to kill, and they need to go kill somewhere. It's true.
Well, don't you think they think they're doing it for a good reason?
No, not the people from Long Island that I know. No, the people from Long Island and Boston that I know. No, they anything's a good reason for them.
Yeah,
but we gotta have a sting for people, right? And you know more about violence than anybody. There's got to be something where violent people can go, and be
They
productive.
need an outlet.
They need an outlet.
I've
As
had
long as it's-
conversations with people about violence where they're like, violence has no place in our society, and they think that the UFC is bad for our society. I'm like, those are some of the I've seen so few brawls at UFCs. It's amazing. I've been to hundreds of those things. I don't know how many times I've ever seen a fight. Like maybe 3, 4 times. Never.
right.
And those are drunks.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, but something like that's a good outlet for the
Yes.
kind of instincts that you're talking about. You know,
gets it out of
Like-
people's system.
I don't give a fuck if you want to voluntarily have a duel like it's the old West. You know, go out there and walk 10 paces and turn around
We've
and
had
shoot.
presidents that have done that.
That's right.
We've had presidents that had duels
right.
while they're in office.
Yeah, Burr and Hamilton, right? Crazy shit.
Let me look that one up for you. I'm pretty sure it is though.
Yes.
I believe it's them.
What's really crazy is how recent that was.
It was pretty. It was.
Not that long ago, and people are shitting in outhouses
I
and
mean,
wearing
Trump and
powdered
Biden
wigs.
are talking about beating each other up. Like we could see it going back to that.
How long would that last? 12 seconds?
It would be amazing.
They'd both gas out.
The Burr Hamilton duel. Look at that.
Vice
So the
President
vice
versus Secretary
president.
of Treasury.
What? Oh my God!
So that'd be
Occurred
like-
early in the morning of July 11th, 1804. Wow,
That's like
220 years ago.
Mike Pence and Steve Mnuchin dueling today.
The culmination of a long and bitter rivalry between the two men. Wow. Burr shot Hamilton while Hamilton's shot broke a tree branch above and beyond Burr's head. Hamilton was carried to the home of William Bayard Jr. Hamilton died at 2 o'clock the following afternoon. Wow, that's heavy.
That was back before you had people doing it. Before you had the agencies and the
Also-
underground people.
they also
It was
had
just people.
muskets.
Yeah, just muskets and just dudes being dudes.
If they want to do it, isn't that the ultimate, like, you know, libertarian argument? Like, go ahead. It's not fucking bothering me.
I believe there's places in America, I think Arizona might be one of them, where you can still
legal.
engage in a duel. Because I believe I read a story about a cop who had a duel with a guy who was fucking his wife. Yeah.
A duel.
Yeah.
AKA shot him in the back of the head or
that
something.
was why it was
Right, yeah.
controversial. But I think they had, you know, like some places have mutual combat laws. Like Seattle has a mutual combat law where the cops will stand by. Like if 2 guys want to fight. the
Is that
cop-
why, like, the Proud Boys and Antifa, when they go at it in Seattle, the cops don't do anything?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
That's
wonder-
kind of
I
interesting.
think they're just overwhelmed.
I get it, yeah.
But I think in Seattle, in particular,
Two
I
people
know.
want to fight, you can stand by.
Yeah, there was a guy named Phoenix Jones. He was fucking I forget his name, but he called himself Phoenix Jones, but he was an actual MMA fighter who would go around, and his brother was a fairly successful MMA fighter, and he would go around wearing a superhero costume, and literally fight crime. Like if you would see people doing things, he would stop people, and there's a video of him with his superhero costume beating the shit out of somebody. Because some guy decided to fight with him, and the cops were literally standing there while this one guy's bouncing on the tips of his toes, on the balls of his feet rather, moving, leg kicks the guy again. You're like, oh my God, like this poor bastard. Some poor drunk is just getting lit up by a guy who's a trained MMA fighter with a superhero costume on.
At what point do they step in? I mean, they'd have to step in at a certain point,
He's
right?
about to beat him to death, probably.
Right.
But the problem is, on the concrete, any punch could result in your death. Because
Right.
if you fall and bounce your head off the thing, you could easily
Could
die.
be over.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
By the way, I almost did that today.
You almost fell.
I did fall, but I almost hit my head. I'm lucky I didn't.
What happened?
I was on one of those stupid Uber scooter things.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh no.
And then as I was
Kyle.
falling, I was like, I'm fucking 32 years old. What am I even doing here?
Well, not only that, you're about to do the most important podcast of your life. This is when Trump wins his re-election.
People would have enjoyed it if they saw giant scars. I actually got one here.
Kyle was telling me how Trump's not going to win, and it sounded kind of persuasive.
Okay, give me the rundown.
Right, because it's not me. I'm just relaying the information. So
It's okay. I know you hate him. Just,
I do, but I hate Biden too. Jamie, I DM'd you this if you want to pull it up, but the first thing here is this is basically every single presidential election and where the polls were going into that day. And basically, the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump election was the only election where somebody had a 4-point lead, as Hillary had, and then she lost the Electoral College. She won the popular vote, but she lost the Electoral College.
Wasn't that the case with Gore as well?
With Gore, well, Bush was up versus Gore 3.6 percentage points nationally.
Didn't Gore win the
He did end up
popular vote?
winning it by a razor-thin margin, but the point is the polling going into that day was Bush up 3.6.
Look at this. 2020, Biden up 8.6. Wow, that's high.
And then Clinton 3.9, Obama 0.3 in 2012, Obama 6.7.
What? 2012, he was only up 0.3?
He ended up winning the Electoral College with, I want to say, about 330 electoral votes. But yeah, he was up nationally. He was only up 0.3.
Why was he so low? That was against Mitt Romney?
That was against Mitt Romney, yeah.
I have no idea. I thought he cruised through that.
Well, he did in terms of the Electoral College numbers, but nationally it was a very even race, which is why they treated it as such throughout the election.
The polling.
Right, that's the national polling, which
That's so low.
yeah, that one is a little bit surprising. I would have guessed he would have had a 5-point lead or something like that. But anyway, as you can see here, like we have to go back to what Clinton in '96 when he absolutely landslided. I think it was Dole in '96, and you got to go back to Reagan in 1984 plus 17.7, and I guess H.W. Bush as well plus 10.1. Like basically. Yes, the national number is not the most important because the Electoral College is what matters, but Biden has never been down in the national number at any point throughout the race. And then when you go to the swing states, Trump's path is just so razor thin where he can't have anything go wrong for him. So he needs to win Florida. He has to win Florida or he's done. If he loses Florida, it's over tonight.
Isn't Florida filled with old people though?
Yes,
I was in Florida. And
Biden now is winning on.
I was in
people.
Florida, and I'm telling you right now, they love Trump in Florida.
But
There's a lot of signs. There's a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And it is a legit swing state. Like I think the average is Biden's only up like 2 points there for the race, but it is a genuine swing state. But he's winning now with old people. Biden is. He's winning with that demographic.
because of the way Trump handled COVID.
Probably because of COVID. That's right.
So they're scared.
Right.
I don't know what their reasoning is, but I just know that that's what the numbers are showing right now.
What could have been done differently?
Well, we've
for
actually
COVID?
talked about this quite a bit. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I'm just an idiot.
You know?
I'll go get my medical degree.
You got our food?
Do you want me to bring it in here?
Yeah, motherfucker. I see you over there eating. You're out of your mind. I saw you pull those bags. We ordered McDonald's in tribute to Donald Trump. This is his last election.
Honestly, this is in tribute to me because I eat McDonald's probably more than anybody on the planet.
Whether he wins or loses, he's done a lot of great things to unite the country.
Whoa.
I mean, I think that we all have to remember that.
This is going to be quoted on someone's blog tomorrow. The same people that have called you a far-right conspiracy theorist.
I can't believe it.
Who called you that?
I don't know. The tech blog, people with pink hair and
Yeah.
people that are angry.
Yeah, the same people that were saying that we had an anti-vax message in the Alex Jones podcast.
Listen, you guys were really trying to fact-check everything. That was pretty clear to me.
Well, not only that, the thing he said was absolutely true. The thing he said about the one vaccine that Bill Gates is promoting that has 80% of the people that took it got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is he? I'm sure he is he against all vaccines?
No.
He's not.
No,
Okay.
no. The thing is, like, look, that Alex Jones is fucked up, right? He really fucked up with the Sandy Hook thing. Really fucked up. He's had some mental health issues. He's had some substance issues, particularly with booze. And he also is constantly around conspiracies. And I think you get legitimately psychotic when you delve down those roads. I think you lose your fucking mind.
It's a tough.
And he lost his fucking mind. He lost his fucking mind on more than one occasion. He has. But
And he
he's
knows he's
not
made
what everybody
mistakes.
says he is.
Yeah.
Is your mic on? Jamie, I think your mic's on. It's very loud over there.
He knows he's made mistakes. He said
Yeah,
on the show
yeah.
that he wants to, correct his mistakes. Like,
But the thing is, he
This is
also
the,
gives out a lot of real information. I had 3. Yeah, is there a third one in there? What'd you get?
How do you get anything?
You didn't get anything?
I had nachos right before I came in here.
What? I thought this was for you. No, it's for you.
yeah, 2 fillet
Oh.
fish for me. Thank you.
It's the first time in my life
Trump.
I've ever passed on McDonald's for the record, everybody.
Outrageous.
You got a fillet of fish?
3 of them.
Yeah, they're great.
You're the only person who gets the fillet of fish.
they're massive.
What? I've never seen anybody
First of
eat
all,
one.
Black people love them. They call them the McFish. That's true. It's not racist. That's a fact. I've heard a lot of black people say, "Can I have a McFish?"
Well,
I think it's great.
it seems racist, but I don't think it is.
It is. It's right on the edge.
There's some things
It's right on the edge.
That
I've
might
seen
be
it.
the last thing on the menu I would get is a fillet of fish.
It's delicious.
Great. They're very good.
It's so good.
They
Well,
steam the bun.
No, I
Make them good.
prefer chicken or beef, like a real
Okay,
man.
well, I apologize. The McDonald's Steakhouse. So you're saying that if everything's equal and Trump wins everything he won in 2016,
Right.
he still has a very narrow path to victory.
No, so the point that I was making, and I'll explain it for people who didn't get the gist of it. But it basically, if you take the polls in 2016 and do the same sort of pro-Trump swing that happened on Election Day, they've done that, and when you calculate those numbers, it's still Biden with 335 electoral votes. So even if you have that same pro-Trump swing, it's still Biden winning by a fairly safe margin. Now, to get to your point about does he have a path? Yes, Trump has a path for sure, but it's basically one path, and he can't afford any mess-ups along the way. So he has to win. He has to win Florida. He has to win Pennsylvania. He has to win Arizona. He has to win Ohio, and these Ohio and Iowa are the only two swing states where he's actually up in the average of the polling. All the other ones he's down. And there's also another crazy thing going on, and I struggle to believe this as well. I think Trump is probably going to win Texas, but the polling right there now is they're actually dead tied. Biden and Trump are dead tied in Texas.
That is the craziest.
Doesn't that skew bias towards Democrats because they're traditionally voting earlier by mail?
Yeah, so that was another point that I was going to get to. When the votes roll in, everybody's going to freak out at every single thing that they see, but there are some states that count the mail-ins first, and when they count the mail-ins first, it's going to look like Biden's winning in a landslide. And then there's other states that do the opposite, which is they count the on-the-day votes first, and the states that do that, it's going to look like Trump is winning in a landslide. So basically, everybody has to relax until you actually get to a very high percentage of the votes counted before you really know what's going on, because there's going to be big swings throughout the night in virtually every state, but I actually have the specific states if you're interested in knowing which states are going to swing like that.
Well, let's find out where we're at right now. Is there anything, Jamie, that shows us where we're at right now? Here we go. Look at that. Florida looks like Trump. Alabama, Trump. Mississippi, Trump. It's Trump. Trump
Okay,
won.
so here, right now,
Trump is the president.
It's over. He won again.
So right now,
Texas is blue.
because that's, and again, okay, that's because they're counting the mail-ins first, and the mail-ins are heavily Biden. See, that's what I'm saying, is like, it's a little misleading to watch it second by second, because it's going to be skewed based on which votes they're counting. You see what I'm saying?
What's the chance we don't have an answer tonight?
100%.
Probably 50 or 60% chance we don't have an answer
What's
tonight.
the chance that people handle that maturely and don't burn things down and throw bricks through windows?
Negative 14,000%.
Right. Look, so far it's 85-55. Joe Biden's winning.
So there's a few surprises up there, by the way. Obviously, Texas is a surprise, but even Ohio, Trump was up in Ohio in the average of polls, and that's looking blue. But again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, because I just told you guys, don't pay attention until the number gets up a lot more.
Yeah, 60-40.
No, see, that's going to swing back to Trump, though, as time goes by, because there's no way Ohio's going to finish on that number. No way. Not a chance in hell. Only 32% reporting. That means they're counting the mail-ins. That's what that tells me.
And all the other states are just in play?
So as time goes by, the polls close at different times, and so I could tell you the order that everything closes here. We're supposed to get 7 o'clock. We had Vermont, Virginia, Georgia, South Carolina, Indiana, and Kentucky. Georgia's the only one of those that's really a swing state. 7:30 we have North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. North Carolina and Ohio were both swing states. Then at 8 o'clock, we get clonked over the head. So we just got clonked over the head here. We have Washington, D.C., Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Illinois, New Jersey, Maine's 1st District, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Florida, Maine's 2nd District, Mississippi, Missouri, Tennessee, Alabama, Oklahoma. Only 1, 2, 3 of those are swing states. We really have Pennsylvania, Florida, and Maine's 2nd District. And then 9 o'clock, we get New York and a bunch of others as well.
I've never felt a time where the country was more on edge during an election.
Because there's never been a time where it's been this bad. No way.
Ever.
No way.
They came up
No
with a thing.
way.
They said there's like a political, I forget what it is, but there's some indicator of political tension. They said it's higher now than the Civil War.
No, I don't know about that one. People
Well, I mean, that's what they
shooting
said.
each other in the face.
Well,
Listen, that
they
can
were very
happen.
polite and genteel.
That is
back
true.
then.
And they wore powdered wigs.
That could
Makes sense.
happen with us, though.
You know, I think, honestly, Joe, I think that we just have too many good distractions to ever be in a civil war. Like, people might think, like, oh, let's go do it, and then they go, you know, Netflix has some new shit out, and I'd rather just watch that. You know what I mean? We can fight, and there will be civil unrest like we've been seeing,
Yeah.
but, you know, I don't think it would ever get to the point of a real civil war.
So what happened with that Kyle Rittenhouse kid? Like, the judge didn't press charges, but then they extradited him to Kenosha, right?
Right.
So what happened there?
I don't know. I watched the tape, and clearly him and his parents went to the protest, right, with heavily armed, right, which is not. That's a choice that the family makes, right? I mean, that's That's a certain type of family that goes heavily armed to a protest. We didn't do that when I was growing up. And then it was a skirmish, but if you watch the video, and people got mad at me on Twitter because I said that, I think if you watch the video, you do see people chasing him. And then he shoots them, which again, this is all
So
good.
he's in court now, right? Isn't he? Bail for Kyle Rittenhouse.
But something happened where the judge said he wasn't going to prosecute him. That's why I was confused. I thought he was being released because I had read another ruling where the judge wasn't going to press charges, and a bunch of YouTube people were making these videos about it. Like Kyle Rittenhouse are going to free him, and then all of a sudden he's now got a $2 million bail.
I saw on Twitter that somebody tweeted, it was a sign that said, Kyle's life matters. Yeah, and I thought, that should be about me.
And not him. It should be Kyle Dunnigan. Keep up that Instagram page. The thing is, like, he's not even supposed to be open carrying. So him carrying a gun was illegal.
It was not good.
What's that, Jamie? Well, that says he's extradited to face homicide charges.
I feel like, listen, the kid's got horrible parents. It's probably a very bad family. Not that this excuses the behavior. Like, I think the family drove him to the protest, right?
Jesus Christ, really?
I believe so, yeah. It's like the mom and the dad. I mean, this is not a good group.
No, there was something else, Jamie. This is not it. There was something else where they were not pressing charges. I guess somebody else did.
Yeah, probably Illinois was not pressing charges so that Wisconsin could.
But it was in Kenosha, right? The actual shooting was in Kenosha, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he's from Illinois, I believe.
I think that sounds right. I think that's what it was.
So he
That Illinois wasn't going to charge him, but Kenosha
yeah,
did.
he probably went home. Yeah, he had been being held in Illinois. He went home and got arrested. Remember, they didn't arrest him right away.
Yeah, they took a trip to the protest. So he is not from the area they were having
Which
the
is
protest.
even more weird.
Crazy.
A lot of people are all about this, man. A lot of people love this,
Tactical life.
yeah, kind of lifestyle where they're just kind of searching for stuff to do.
What do you attribute that to? Like the rise in violence and the rise of people kind of... Is that it? What do you think it is?
No.
No, I'm kidding.
I think, honestly, man, and some people might come after me for this, but I really believe that over the years, the evidence would show that when people feel like there's zero hope for a brighter future and they're perpetually shit on by a system that doesn't give a fuck about them, that, yeah, usually you turn to more extreme ideologies across the political spectrum.
Right, it makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I wouldn't
You
say
really
that's...
think that's why he showed up at that protest with a gun?
No, because I was just going to say, you have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis, and there are going to be many individual instances where somebody does something fucked up because of, say, mental illness, or somebody does something fucked up because they were brainwashed into some sort of fundamentalist cult from when they're a kid. But I think the broader societal trends where these things kind of catch on and more people are willing to be involved in some sort of violence, I think you have to have an unhealthy society in the first place to have that flourish. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, listen, this is probably the classic example, but you couldn't have had Hitler rise to power without the Treaty of Versailles, which fucked Germany after World War I. And so you had this whole generation of Germans who were like, we've been fucking shit on and left behind, and, what are we supposed to do? We feel like there's no way out. And then you have this charismatic guy come up and say, hey, it's not your fault. Blame the Jews. No, yeah, it is them. So this is what happens. I mean, and I really fear that stuff is going to get worse in this country because the economic situation is just abysmal. I mean, you talk about this all the time on your show, but when you shut down the economy, basically, because of the virus, you can't shut down the economy and then not give people a lifeline monetarily. Because then they can't pay the fucking bills. Right. This isn't rocket science, And a lot of other countries, Joe, what they did is they did like this wage replacement thing where they temporarily nationalized wages. So in other words, if the government told you, hey, you can't work because of COVID, they would then say, and that's why we're going to pay 75% of your wage until COVID is over.
Could they have done that in this country?
Oh, we absolutely could have done it. We chose not to do it. In fact, what we did is probably the worst of all worlds, which is we took trillions of dollars and threw them at the corporations and said, here, we're giving you a bailout. And then the corporations turned around and fired people anyway.
Yeah, in the beginning of COVID, like Trump, they would have like these press conferences, and there would be like the CEO of Buffalo Wild Wings would come out, and like they'd be like, let's bring out the CEO of Buffalo Wild Wings, and the guy's like, hey, we're just committed to helping. We're taking some of our napkins and making face mask. It was just crazy group of people that came out. Like the guy who ran Red Lobster was like, we're also getting involved in the fight. It was absurd. It's always corporate, like
Always
It's
corporate.
always corporate. It's like, listen, let's let Dave and Buster's make ventilators and fix
The
it.
idea that they would give those people that money and not have a clause in there where you can't fire people is amazing.
That's right. I mean, and again, this also happened in the Wall Street bailout. Back, under Bush and under Obama. They always do the same thing. They bail them out and they have no strings attached. And then what happens is, these executives paid bonuses to the same people who crashed the company. And, there's no accountability. Those people fail up all the time. They fail up. Oh, I bankrupted my company. But it's okay. The government gave me, $1 billion because Goldman Sachs basically owns the government. And that's how it works, and it's incredibly corrupt. And that's why when something bad happens and the people need a bailout, they never get a bailout. What did people get? A one-time $1,200 stimulus check.
Which is amazing. And we thought at least it was going to come more frequently, and never came again. The
Never
idea
came
that they gave
again.
one check in 8 months is kind of insane.
People don't have money to stay afloat.
There are
Right.
people that have been trying to get unemployment for like 6 months.
That's right.
They can't even get unemployment because these fucking it's crazy.
And all the protection for people getting evicted is soon going to expire.
That's right. And so we're about to, I saw a tweet about this earlier from the guy at the Washington Post, one of the only good people at the Washington Post, and he was basically listing it, and he's like, here are the things that expire, in the upcoming however many months. And people are screwed, man. They're screwed. I don't know how they're going to pay the bills. We're already seeing polls where like 30% of people say, I can't make rent.
So what could
Yeah,
they
but I
have?
mean, have those people tried hustling and grinding?
OnlyFans is seeing a big explosion.
Yeah, I think Gary Vee would basically tell them that they should just invest in themselves.
Hashtag keep going.
Keep
Hashtag
going.
Just never give up.
You just never give up and just hustle and grind.
Hashtag hustle.
And just, just do it.
So what country handled it well?
So the example that we've spoken about this before, but I liked what Japan did, because Japan did like limited shutdowns. They did some shutdowns because some things there's no escaping it. It makes sense to shut them down just because of the nature of what they are, like bars, or everybody's breathing on each other 2 feet away or whatever. So they did limited shutdowns. But basically, the only thing they did is they had a universal mask policy. And culturally, it's viewed like you're the biggest asshole on the planet if you're not wearing a fucking mask in a place where you should be wearing a mask. And then they only had 1,000 COVID cases when we had like 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, and rising steadily. So that's one way we could have done it. Or the other way you could have done it is you could have copied any of the European nations that when they shut down, they did, hey, we'll pay you 75% of your wages until this thing is over.
What European?
France was one that did that, where they shut it down and paid people, I think it was 75% of their wages. But I think the UK did that too for a little bit. It may have been 80% of their wages.
But isn't this a thing where, unfortunately, a lot of those other, or fortunately, however you want to say, a lot of those other countries, they just they're more of a monolith, and it's easier. Those people there's not this idea of, the freedom and doing your own thing and owning your own business. Like a lot of those countries are, by their nature, the populace is just more submissive.
There's definitely cultural differences.
Right.
But I think that, especially in the case of France, the government is scared of the people because they're like, you better fucking do shit that's going to help us, or else why are you even in power? Whereas here, I feel like we're more like, okay, just government, don't fuck this up too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but again, there were multiple ways to address this. And if you go the way Japan went, you could have kept a lot more stuff open and just had everybody wear masks. So if you want,
Was anybody in government calling for more stimulus checks? Was anybody in government calling for more relief? Was anybody in government calling for, like, anybody on the left calling for these checks to
Oh,
be distributed?
absolutely.
Who
I mean,
was calling for them?
Bernie Sanders was calling for it. The Squad, who's always made fun of, they were calling for it. They
What were
happen
they
to be
saying?
right on this economic stuff. Not only were people calling for it, Joe, I believe one of these things passed. I think it's called the HEROES Act. And there were provisions where they gave people more of a recurring stimulus check. This wasn't a wage replacement, I should be clear. We're not talking about nationalizing wages like they did over there. But you can do a similar version of that by just doing a universal basic income. That's Andrew Yang's idea. It's something that he's really popularized. There's other ways to go about it.
Well, on the
Recurring
third
stimulus
night
checks.
of quarantine, Nancy Pelosi was giving a tour of her town or her house.
Listen, she's the worst.
And she was showing the different gelatos that she had in her freezer. This is right after 30 million people were instantly made unemployed. And Nancy Pelosi was like going, we like the chocolate, and then we like this. And it was like the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And that's the party that's supposed to care.
She's done so many things like that.
Yeah, so many.
Like, She lied about telling people, like when people were like when the pandemic was first starting. She was telling people, please go out, go to Chinatown.
People were acting like total idiots, and they weren't listening to the real experts early on, and everything was incredibly politicized. But to answer your question, though, from before, Trump and Mnuchin were calling for it too, Joe. They also wanted stimulus checks. The people who didn't want stimulus checks, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. But Trump and Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, wanted stimulus checks because, listen, Trump knew, hey, I'm kind of struggling in the polls here. I want to throw a Hail Mary pass. One of the ways to get people to like you, 3 weeks before an election, cut him another stimulus check. And he famously wanted his name on the checks. He said, put my name on the check so that when people cash it, they know that it's for me, and then they're more likely to vote for me. And what got in his way was Nancy Pelosi, who wouldn't accept any deal, even if it was a good deal, and Mitch McConnell, who, even if Nancy Pelosi accepted the stimulus deal, Mitch McConnell would have blocked it anyway. So those are the real ghouls, because Trump wanted stimulus checks, Mnuchin wanted stimulus checks, and this is to their credit.
Do they ever leave? She's 100. Does she ever go away?
I know.
She's spooky. When she went to that fucking beauty salon and had no mask on, and then was talking about it, they should apologize. They set me up. Like, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I don't even have hair, and I knew that beauty salons were closed.
Right, everyone knew.
That lady is 150 years old. She must get her hair dyed every 15 minutes.
Yeah, the greatest story about her was there was a bird that got in her Georgetown townhouse, and she had to chase this big bird out of her. I mean, she's just a real.
But the fact that she went to a place that was shut down and she wasn't even wearing a mask,
right?
Like all the they're just hypocrites.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah,
they need new leadership.
You know what's been amazing? Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore's fucking podcaster. He's
a good friend of mine.
I love Jimmy Dore. He's calling everybody out. Everybody on the left,
that
everybody
dude
on the right.
Breathes fire.
He really does.
He breathes fire.
He doesn't
Jimmy
give a
does.
fuck. He goes hard. He was doing this thing on Obama. I forgot about this, where Obama went to Flint, Michigan, and was drinking the water. Was fake drinking. He's like, can I get a sip of water? Can I get a glass of water? This is not a stunt. I actually need a glass of water. I'm actually thirsty.
Kids are getting poisoned
here,
he's doing this. Yeah.
Like this. This is what he does. He took a little poison.
That's kind of a fun bit, though.
He says, this is not a stunt.
I mean, hey.
Can I get a glass of water?
We still don't have clean water in Flint, Michigan.
Why is that so hard to fix?
I think the reason why they didn't want to spend the extra money to get the proper pipes, and so then when it got terrible and it was contaminated, they were like, whoopsie. And then I don't know how at this late date they haven't fixed it yet. That strikes me as absolutely
that was the
absurd.
Obama administration, so it
happened under Obama.
Trump administration, and it hasn't been repaired.
Obama didn't do anything serious. Trump didn't do anything serious.
That's people's lives. Those are
people's
lives, man.
Well, no, that is long-term repercussions, right? So we're talking about people now. Who knows what it's like 15 years from now, 20 years from now, growing up without water?
And listen, people, this is the stuff that actually matters to people. If you want to be successful running for political office, it's not that difficult. It's the bread and butter issues. It's the basics. Wages, jobs. I don't want your water to be poisoned.
What stops them from fixing these things?
A lot of it's corruption. A lot of it's the fact that these politicians take money from corporations and billionaires, and then they turn around and they serve them, and they don't do anything that their constituents want. Because as a general rule, whatever the people want is opposed by the billionaire class. The billionaire class just wants more tax cuts for themselves. Regular people, if you look at the polls, they want, a living wage, for example. They want to end the wars. They want to do an infrastructure deal and give people jobs. Like, the things are very basic. And actually, this gets back to what we were talking about earlier, because Trump in 2016, he never got credit for running a superb campaign, because he really did. When Hillary Clinton was not stepping foot in the Rust Belt to campaign, he was doing rallies there in the final weeks leading up to the election, where he would nonstop hammer on jobs, and he would say, Hillary and Bill, they outsourced your job with NAFTA, they outsourced your job with permanent normal trade relations with China. I'm going to bring your job back. I'm the outsider, she's the insider. They sent your kids to go die in a war. I want to get us out of the war. And he just kept hammering her and hammering her and hammering her. And the reason he won is because those states are the states that he picked off to win the Electoral College. He won by something from like 70,000 to 110,000 votes. And in fact, I kind of want to show you this ad because it shows it perfectly. Trump's closing ad in 2016. That's actually what it's called on YouTube, Jamie, if you want to pull that up. Trump's closing argument ad or something like that. The ad is phenomenal. It's policy based, it's substance based, and he portrays himself as the outsider. And then comparing how good his campaign was in 2016 versus how shitty it is this time around. I'm not surprised that Joe Biden, who barely has a functioning brain, is casually up by 9 points, 8 points, 9 points, whatever
But
it is.
wouldn't you agree that it's not that Joe Biden's run a good campaign? It's that people hate Trump.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And
But they didn't hate
yeah.
Trump 2016. Trump 2016 was a good politician.
The best
was
thing
a
that
really good
Biden
politician.
did in this cycle is not really go out to deal with the public.
Hide.
Like
Well,
that's
every
what,
time
yeah.
he did, he fucked up 50% of the time.
Exactly. So that was if there's anything that they did good, it's keeping him away
Yeah.
from the people.
Do you think, though, that if COVID didn't happen where the economy was before COVID,
Trump was much more likely to win.
Well, no,
Yeah.
he was winning 100%.
Much more likely to win.
I mean,
Absolutely.
dude, without COVID, Trump is. I mean, he wins.
do you buy the argument that Trump is responsible for the economy's big boom, or do you think that he was riding off the wave of Obama, or do you think it's a combination of both things?
See, that's interesting because I actually don't agree with either one of those. I think the economy was always a house of cards. I don't buy it when people say, oh, we have a low unemployment rate and the stock market is doing well, so people are doing well. No, even before COVID, 78% of the country was living paycheck to paycheck. Like, it's a house of cards. They use these indicators, which are not good economic indicators for regular people. They're good economic indicators for the top 10% that have fucking stocks. You know what I mean?
Right.
And by the way, it's the gig economy, right? It's not that people were necessarily unemployed, but people were underemployed. They'd have these fucking degrees from colleges, and then they'd have to go take a job where they're basically making minimum wage, at working as an independent contractor, not an employee. So like, the economy was always a house of cards, and I never bought the argument. And by the way, not a hypocrite on this, because when Obama was acting like his economy was good, I was like, your economy's fucking shit. It's got the same problem as it was under Trump. These are not good economic indicators. I care about wages, for example. Rates of unionization usually go right along with the health of the middle class. Back when we had strong unions in this country, we had one of the healthiest middle classes in the world.
What killed that off? NAFTA?
No, NAFTA had a lot to do with the outsourcing of jobs. Actually, permanent normal trade relations with China was worse on that front. There was more outsourced under that than under NAFTA.
But we did lose a lot of jobs in the auto industry. We lost a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs
That was
were
because
outsourced.
that was because of corruption. That's because the people who were the executives at these companies, they pay the politicians to run their campaigns, and then they would go to the politicians and say, hey, I financed your last campaign. I need you to do me a favor. I want to, make my product a lot cheaper, so I'd like to ship it to some Chinese factory where we have, 14-year-old working for me, as opposed to paying an American worker a living wage with good benefits. So it all comes down to money. It all comes down to, corruption. And
That really does show what hypocrites we are, because all these people who are progressive, they all have iPhones in their pockets.
yes, that's right. And you're right. We're all hypocrites. All of us are hypocrites.
That, unless you're buying some phone that, what is the most, we've talked about this before, Jamie, but I don't remember anything. What is the most ethical phone you can buy? Because it's clear, it's
Was
not...
it the Fair phone? Remember?
Right.
I think I think I learned that from you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what it is. And even that, where are the minerals coming from? You follow the chain,
And there's
of
slaves
parts,
somewhere.
and there's a slave
There's
with a
slaves
stick.
somewhere. That's
Police-
right.
What do you
Cold
do
trans-
though?
I know,
mean,
man.
that's
It's
the
tough.
problem. We're all complicit in these things. What do you do?
I mean, we could do what we can control, and I did think, a lot of Trump's rhetoric in 2016 on trade.
Are they
I think
really
he was correct.
slaves in the China that are making the phone?
Slaves in the China.
You know what I mean?
No,
Are
in
they
the
really
factory.
slaves?
Foxconn,
Do
whatever
they
it's
don't
called.
enjoy it at all? Do they not enjoy it at all?
Well,
to
there was
make,
actually an
they make
expose.
this is beautiful.
There was actually an expose recently written by a guy who posed as he's a guy of Chinese descent, but I believe he's American, and he worked in a factory making iPhones and doing one thing 12 hours a day, and he wrote a story about it, like how inhumane the conditions are there,
Right.
and
Yeah.
trying to get it in people's heads, like this is what you're supporting when you buy a phone. What's really kind of crazy is that Apple, with all their money, right, and they're my favorite phone company, right? They're my favorite phone company because they don't sell your information like Google does.
Right, yeah, they care about privacy.
Even
right.
with your with Apple Maps, they're not like constantly collecting data and then just selling it to all these companies. even them, they don't see this massive problem, and they don't do anything about it. They just keep going down the same road because it's been effective, and because economically they have an obligation to their shareholders, and this is the most profitable way to do it, so they keep doing it that way.
That's right, and this gets back to the Iraq and Afghanistan war. There's trillions of dollars of mineral wealth in Afghanistan. Like, a lot of the stuff that ends up in your phone comes from there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Like lithium ion, all
That's
that
right.
stuff.
Well, there's
That's right.
a huge deposit of lithium in Afghanistan. There was a big story about that a few years ago, that they had found this new massive deposit of lithium. I want you to imagine this, because, and I want to put this out there. If Apple had their version of a Fairphone, like say this is our iPhone 12 Max Pro, but this is our Fairphone. Now this phone is, everybody makes at least $15 an hour.
Right. Yeah.
This is a phone that doesn't use any conflict minerals that come from war-torn countries, but it costs $1,000.
Right.
But it's not as good as the phone that costs $800.
Who would get it, right? That's the question.
I think a lot of people would, because they would virtue signal. They would say, "I'm using the."
But
Fairphone.
that's not even, like, virtue signal has a negative connotation.
Right,
That's
but
a
I mean
good
in a
virtue
good
signal.
way. But in a good way. What do you need? Like, I have a new phone. I got a 12. I'm a fucking moron. Right? I just like, hey, get 12, better camera. Get a better camera. Oh, sides. They're flat now. Yeah, I love it. But I don't need it, right? Like, if you made a phone that's the equivalent of the iPhone 7, right? And it costs $900, but you feel good about yourself. You don't feel bad. What the fuck do you need your phone to do? It's not making complex computations. It's not doing like super difficult video rendering. Unless you're a hardcore gamer on your phone.
Yeah.
What are you really using your goddamn phone? You're FaceTiming your friends. You're making a few text messages. You're checking your email. Maybe you watch a YouTube video. You play a podcast when you're in your car. You listen to music. What the fuck are you using your phone for? That you need a new processor every year. Oh, the new OLED has, the new resolution is far better than the old. There's more pixels. Listen, I'm 53 years old. I need glasses to see my fucking text messages. I don't know what's going on with your pixels. If you could sell a phone that you could feel good about, where you could say, if a phone company came out with that and that was their big campaign, and if it was ever a time, now is the time that they could do that, and I would buy it.
Yeah.
I don't fucking need this stupid new phone, but I bought it because I'm a moron, right? But if a phone company came out and said, this is it, we have a phone, maybe Korea's better, maybe Samsung's better. I don't know where they're making their shit or where they're doing their shit.
I think they're all bad. I think at the core of it, so there's slavery involved with all this, and it's terrible, but it's probably true, right? Like, is anybody's hands really clean in all this?
I mean, it's relative, right? Like, relatively clean, cleaner. I mean, it's
but I mean, this is why we need efficient, effective regulation.
Is it
like,
even
let's
possible?
avoid the slavery thing. Well, listen,
Yes.
it's harder. The broader the scope, the harder it is. So yes, if you're asking, hey, is it really possible to know where we get everything from for phones that are sold here when none of the materials come from here? No, it's really not possible.
Well, someone's got to know, right?
Apple, the new phone has a bunch of recycled material in it.
Sure, but that means recycled from the
From a
eventually
slave?
slaves getting it out of the ground.
From other phones is what they're saying.
Right, but it originally came from slaves getting those materials out of the ground.
But not at a constant
Yeah, he's just
rate.
saying
It's
it's not
happening every
continuing
single
to
day.
feed the
So it's
slavery pipeline.
Slightly better.
Right.
So Apple's rare earth recycling on new iPhone series steps up environmental response. Yeah, but that's just the environment. This is, even though this is good because they're not wasting the materials and they're recycling the materials, that's good for the environment, right? But that doesn't address the Foxconn workers who live in a place where they have dormitories and they have nets around the building because so many people jumped off, they decided to put nets up.
You would need the international community to get together and we all say to each other, all right, no slavery? Yeah, no slavery. And then some country would decide we're going to be assholes because we'll get a competitive advantage if we have slaves, and then they'd probably do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's...
Well,
Jimmy, pull up that Fairphone.
would you really get a Fairphone?
No. I'm just...
I wouldn't
lying
either.
on the podcast.
Well, it
It's
depends.
so
It depends how
insane.
shitty it is, though,
Can
right?
I
Like, if
airdrop?
it's actually
If
okay.
it's even less, like slightly less, I'm gonna go slavery.
Here it is. But can I airdrop with the Fairphone?
Go slavery.
It's an Android, so I mean.
Also,
Okay,
I don't know if
designed to
it's-
last. What does it say? Recycled and fair materials.
Dude,
48 megapixel camera. That's pretty good.
You look like a punk if you have this.
How dare you?
You look like a punk if you pull out a Fairphone.
Look at this fucking guy. He
Dude,
doesn't,
it's
he
horrible.
doesn't even agree with slavery,
What
this
a horrible
asshole.
conversation starter. Oh, I have a Fairphone. Oh, you think you've stopped slavery because you have one Fairphone?
Well, let's. Why do they have
But
white
see, no,
text
you're,
on
you're
blue?
actually
It's
making
so
a great
hard to
point.
read.
You're making a great
I'm
point.
always doing that.
Because, like, it's not an individual issue. It's like when people say about
I
climate
just never
change.
know when I'm doing it.
It's like when people say about climate change, like, oh, did you drive a fucking car? Is that what you did? You drove a car to get here? Did you know that fucking climate change has happened? It's like, yeah, asshole. And it's not like one individual can really make that much of a difference. You actually need action from a higher level. Like 73% of the emissions that lead to climate change come from, I'm sorry,
Sell outside of Europe? What's it say there?
73 companies
They only sell
give
in
like
Europe.
100% or 90% of the emissions. Some crazy
They only
stat that I'm
sell
not
them
remembering.
within the EEA in Switzerland. As an organization based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, we currently focus our sales efforts in Europe. At the same time, we are researching the market and logistic possibilities to sell outside of Europe. You can find our full list of countries where we sell and ship to.
Yeah,
okay.
when they try
Just
to
click
sell
on that.
outside of
Do they
Europe.
sell it to America? Can I buy one? Does it say United States? LMNOP, QRS? Nope.
Vatican City.
They don't even
Yeah,
allow it
Vatican-
here?
Vatican City.
Yeah, well, when you're molesting children, you really want a fair phone.
They don't even allow it here?
No,
I
they
think
don't.
the
They don't sell it
phone-
here.
I think we say this is slavery, but we don't really know, right?
Well, at the
Do we
heart of
really
it,
know?
with the mines, yeah, there's child slaves in those mines.
Shipping outside of Europe. We do not sell or ship Fairphone products outside of Europe at the moment. Yet, the good news is we plan to start developing a selection of countries outside. The question at the moment is how fast can we make this happen? As an Amsterdam-based organization, we wanted to launch a Fairphone products in Europe. Yeah. For the coming time, we will continue to focus our sales efforts on this region. Oh, they don't have any plans. So that you can't even buy this fucking phone here. But it's not a bad phone if you look at what it is. It's a 46 megapixel camera, uses Android 10, which is, I think that's the latest. That was Android 11 now? I think they have Android 11 now.
But Tim is right. This is not an individual issue. It has, like, action needs to be taken at a higher level.
Yeah.
You can't just have
And-
one person
right,
go, I'm
that's
gonna buy
right.
a fair phone. It's got to
Right.
be systemic.
Yeah, well,
and
I
the
gotta
point-
be able to airdrop too.
And the point I was trying to make, which I, couldn't
think
get
the phone
out.
system works well.
What phone system?
The one we get, where we get the nice phones.
Joey, he's saying
and
he's
we get
pro-slavery. This
we
is
get
what
a
he's
new
saying.
one every year. I'm not pro-slavery, but if you're a child in China, you have to keep yourself occupied.
You can upgrade your camera.
That's
There's a
kinda-
camera module.
Kind of cool
That's pretty cool.
if it works good.
Discover the greener way to get new features. Wow. So they have a module that you can take out and then put back in. Probably also means no water resistance. With all this modular shit, you're pulling out batteries and stuff. That means usually, generally, that you're not going to be able to have water resistance.
You seem like you're actually somewhat interested in this, Joe.
I am somewhat interested in this because I've recognized my own hypocrisy by not supporting slavery but supporting slavery. And it's also weird to me that, in my opinion, if I'm thinking about a progressive tech company, Apple's at the top of that list. They have the most elegant design. They have these like super intelligent people working. They have this beautiful campus. They have all these things. They have an enormous amount of money. I mean, Apple has more money than the United States of America, right? They have more cash reserves than anything. Like what is Apple's cash reserve? I think it's in the trillions of dollars. They have an enormous amount of money.
insane.
Well, they're
That's insane.
incredibly successful. But here's the thing.
I'm not saying it's not a lot, but it's about $200 billion.
I thought it was in the trillions.
That's how much they're worth. I don't think they
Oh.
have that in cash.
Okay, so in cash, they have hundreds of billions of dollars. Can't you stop?
Like, you guys can't figure it out?
You can't pay slaves better money? You can't say they only have to work 8 hours a day?
It's about the supply chain,
How
man.
much more would it cost? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, but I think it's more about the supply chain where, like, at some point down the line, they're
Right.
just getting something from somebody else who's doing the work elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they come to them for the raw materials for whatever it is, and then they put it
Somebody
together.
owns the land where the minerals are being extracted from, and that person's running a slave operation.
Pretty
Well,
much.
this is what the CIA would do. It's like when we needed minerals, whoever was running that country, they'd be like, he seems like he's hurting his own people.
Yes.
He's a genocidal
That's right.
monster.
Look,
We must do
There's
something.
always an argument.
He
There's always
gassed
some
these camps.
veneer.
Right.
Yeah.
Always.
It's like that Bill Hicks joke where they go, he's a Hitler and whatever you need, folks. Like, whatever you need, we're going in.
Yeah, well, that's Smedley Butler. right? That's
War's a
General Smedley
racket.
Butler, yeah.
War's a racket.
That's really the extent of his argument, or his article rather, is when he wrote that, he thought when he first enlisted into the Army, and by the way, I believe that's 33. What year was that? Smedley Butler, War is a Racket. I want to say it's in the 1930s. And he wrote this 35 eerily accurate account of what we're dealing with today when it comes to why we really take military action on certain countries. And they really, in his case back then, he was talking about protecting bankers and
Yeah, we had soldiers who were dishonorably discharged when they blew the whistle on some of our allies having child sex slaves.
crazy. Well, say that again.
We had soldiers who were dishonorably discharged when they blew the whistle on our allies in Afghanistan having child sex slaves. So they spoke up and said, our allies are fucking children here.
And they were dishonorably discharged.
But nobody likes a rat.
kicked out.
No one wants a rat.
Good point.
That's a great point, because we also do horrible things, and you're like, well, if he's going to rat out our allies, they might rat out us.
Yeah, and they probably fuck kids too.
Yeah.
Well, who were these guys, and where are
I'm
they
going on an
now?
article I read like 5 years ago. I'll try to
In
pull it up.
Afghanistan, they have this whole thing where it's like they have lady boys, and then they have like goat herders have sex with the warriors. Like they have it's like a warlord culture. That's the extent of what I know about it, but I read an
I like
article.
how you said that, knowing that you have like this shallow
It's a
amount of
very
information.
small amount of information, but it's very visual. Like I know they're warlords and they're walking
here.
on rods.
There you go.
Here it is. U.S. soldiers told to ignore sexual abuse of boys by Afghan allies.
Yeah. Also,
Allies.
cross off Afghan allies and write U.S. senators.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that's also the thing.
What's his name? He wasn't he one of the speakers of the House, right?
Denny Hastert.
Hastert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was molesting boys when he was working as a wrestling coach.
Yeah. And really
Yeah.
good friends with Tony Podesta, John Podesta's brother.
And by the way,
Yeah.
if I want to say, I think he got 15 months. He got an incredibly short term.
Connected. When you're
Very
connected.
light.
Yeah, Hastert. Pull that up. Speaker of the House, Hastert, and what he got. And so, I mean, that is the tip of some iceberg somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, you've
Was it
gone
15
deep on the
months?
Epstein
15 months
shit.
is your supervised release.
So
15
months?
15 months for fucking kids. Imagine. Imagine. Think about all these guys that are in jail right now for pot.
non-violent drug offenses.
Non-violent
right.
drug dealers, a bunch of dudes. How about Kamala Harris? How many did she
locked
put
them
away?
up.
How
She
many did
locked
she
them
put
up.
away for way
He only
longer?
did 13 months.
Oh well,
got
got
out
off
early.
good behavior. Didn't fuck any kids in
By
those
the
last
way,
2 months. And
This was
he's a
one of
good
the
guy.
issues. This was one of the issues where Trump could have hit Biden hard because Biden did the crime bill
Yeah.
and Trump did the First Step Act.
Yeah.
That's a reversal of the roles there, where you have like Biden's acting like the Republican and
tough.
Trump's acting like the Democrat.
Well, it was
Yeah.
tough to hit Kamala on that because Trump was like, she put black people in jail. And the crowd's like, yes. And Trump's like, no, that's hold on. And she's a cop. And they're like, yes. So it's a tough, you got to really.
Well, listen, that's why he's had a hard time defining Biden. Because, if you hit him on the crime bill, that's like saying he's too tough on crime.
But he did hit him on the crime bill in that debate.
I know, but then in the next sentence, what did he do? He said he won't even say law and order. This guy's okay with the riots. You got to pick one. You can't say he's too tough on crime with the crime bill and he's too soft on crime because he won't say law and order.
The crime bill wasn't just tough on crime.
Right, it was tough on nonviolent crime,
Yeah, it
which
was-
shouldn't be crime.
And it was also like it didn't give anybody a path for redemption. It just basically locked people up. And then when you're dealing with, this is also during the time of the rise of the private prison industry. And so all of that is being funneled into people's pockets.
Right.
Biden has always been a shady guy, right? Didn't he help all the credit card companies relocate
Yes,
to Delaware?
yes. In the bankruptcy
He's-
bill,
yeah.
bankruptcy bill,
Dude, the
they
guy
made
is-
you can't file for bankruptcy on your student loans. All other forms of
Right.
debt you can file for bankruptcy on. You can't do it on student loans. And now this guy's, might be our next president. We'll find out.
Dark is that you can't file for bankruptcy on student loans no matter what it is. You owe it forever. There's people right now that are getting Social Security and they get some of their money docked because they owe student loans. Imagine you hit the end of the line, right? You're 70 years old, you're tired every day, your feet hurt, and your Social Security check gets sliced because you have student loans that you never used anyway. Like that education did you a damn good. No good at all. And the money, the reason why it was so expensive for that education was the government was subsidizing it.
That's right. And there are other developed countries, a bunch of them do. Basically, they treat college the same way we treat like high school here, where you could just go.
That
you know?
that is one of the reasons why I supported Bernie Sanders. One of the reasons I supported it for a couple of reasons. One, the idea of abolishing student debt. Two, making college free. We want people to be more educated. We want them to be more educated. It's one of the best ways to ensure that we have, I always say this, what's the best way to make America great? Have less losers. What's the best way to have less losers? Give more people opportunity. So, get them out of debt for shit that they did when they were 17. They didn't even know it. They didn't understand what they were doing. You're getting in debt for hundreds of thousands of dollars for an education that's literally worthless. Like, Jamie went to school for shit that doesn't even work anymore, right? You make this education, or you get this education for like computer programming,
right?
Or you're learning software that's completely irrelevant by the time you get out of school. I mean, and you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You should be able to sue. You should be like, you fuckers, you made me learn
They should wipe the
some
slate
shit.
clean.
Yeah,
Get rid of the student loan debt. I mean, think about it. We bail out bankers. We bail out Wall Street. We have endless amounts of money for the war, right? For the war.
If we're gonna bail out anybody, it should be students. Like, Jesus Christ.
Student debt and medical debt.
Wow.
And by the way, I like the questions you asked Kanye, because it was funny to me watching. You were very policy focused. You were like, okay, so what do you think about the issue of student loan debt? Like, do you have a plan for that?
The big one for me was, what are you going to do with the military? Like, if you have military...
He said prayer, I believe, was his answer to that one.
He's going to consult Jesus. I like Kanye a lot, and I thought that was really interesting, that his answer for the military was not something that he just ranted on. That was something that he thought about. And he said, I would consult experts. He's like, I'm a civilian.
Trump said that a lot, too, in 2016 when he was asked a question he wasn't sure about. He's like, I'd be surrounded by the best people.
But he never said it like the way Kanye did it. And I'm not saying Kanye West should be president, but I was genuinely impressed with his thoughtfulness. Genuinely. I don't think he should be president. But by the way, he could be.
What are the numbers?
Not now. He's not winning this election. That's for sure.
Not this one. But understand, he could. No bullshit. Like, this is how fucking sideways we've gone through the looking glass. Look,
but
if it was
Trump
up to
was
me,
a good politician, though, Joe. I really think Trump was he didn't get his due either, because the media hates him so much that they didn't recognize what he was doing was he wasn't running like a traditional Republican, which is like Mitt Romney style, which is uninspiring. He was running like a populist, and that appealed to people who otherwise would. There are 2 times Obama voters who voted for Trump. And guess what? Now they abandoned him because he stopped. He didn't govern like we thought he might when he was being a populist.
Do you think that was because he was lying when he was running, or do you think it's because the things that he was promising, once you get into office and you see the reality of the job?
No, I'll explain it. I think Trump is a path of least resistance guy. So when he got in power, he surrounded himself with the same fucking ghouls that have been destroying Washington all along. I mean, he had Gary Cohn, Goldman Sachs, Steve Mnuchin, Goldman Sachs, Larry Kudlow from CNBC. The guy's never been right about anything economically in his entire life, but now he's making decisions for the economy. And we can go down the list. John Bolton on foreign policy, one of the same guys who's a fucking war criminal who sent us to Iraq. So Trump spoke against the Iraq war, and then he hired the guy who was most responsible for getting us into fucking Iraq. Try to make sense of that one. So the problem is, he picked all these career insider swamp creatures, and then all of them were talking in his ear all day, every day. No, you can't do that thing. You can't stop the outsourcing. No, you can't get us out of the wars. You can't do this. You can't do that. And Trump, listen, at the end of the day, all he really cares about is getting the adulation. And he loves, like, when he's doing a rally and the crowd is, like, loving him, that's his thing, man. That's what he's into. So he wants that love and adoration while he just keeps the status quo going and holding it together with fucking Band-Aids and bubble gum, Like, that's what it is. I'm going to keep the status quo going, relatively normal, as I portray myself as
I think you're right about all of that, but there's got to be some allowance made for the fact that, like, he spent 2 years defending himself from the accusation that he was a Russian spy.
That's right. Well, that's because the fucking Democrats... The Democrats are insane.
Idea that the guy was a Russian spy.
And that's the reason the Democrats did that is because they don't have anything policy-wise that they're pushing to make counter-arguments.
Right.
So instead of saying, like, what we're going to do is we're going to abolish student loan debt and we're going to, fight with the Republicans on this day in and day out. They didn't do that. They did exactly what you said, which is, oh my God, maybe he's Vladimir Putin's puppet Manchurian candidate, not even in for America. And, of course, where'd that get us? Absolutely nowhere. By the way, I love how the Mueller report got Trump on dick when it came to that, and the Democrats just acted like There was no day of reckoning where it was like, damn, we really fucked this up from the beginning. I remember one of the first or second times I was on your podcast, I told you that they're going to get nothing on the Russia thing.
Yeah.
And they got nothing on the Russia thing. There's other kinds of standard issue
There's
corruption
still
going on in there.
people that claim that the Russia thing did show collusion.
Okay, then why is Trump still president? Why
Jamie's
hasn't,
one of them.
Why hasn't anybody around him gone
Jamie's
to
one of
prison?
them. Jamie thinks that he was in
But
cahoots
Jamie also pretended to have COVID. So this is a
because
problem.
he was scared of meeting Kanye.
Exactly. So this is a pattern of behavior
Scared to
with
meet
Jamie.
his idols. He did, you know.
Hey, don't do it. I'm not wearing those shoes, so don't worry about it. I saw
When you looked at your phone, did you get any hot results? Is there anything off the?
Yeah, there's some shit going down in Florida. They projected wins for both of them. It's going back and forth.
Oh, good.
Can I show you the Trump
Yeah, please.
2016
Let's
ad?
look
I
at
sent
the
it to
current-
Jamie.
Yeah, we're gonna look. Okay,
Oh, this is 2016. Okay. Yeah.
okay. Let's
Yeah,
look
I
at
DM'd
that.
it to Jamie.
We'll
I want
look-
to show
we'll
you
watch
how
this.
This is
good
the one,
he
right?
was.
Okay.
That's it, correct. How good he was, Joe.
Here we go.
With a new government, our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington, and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Okay.
Great ad.
Listen,
Pretty goddamn good.
that
ad.
is not like other Republicans. That's him being incredibly populist, right? And now I just want to show you, because I'll show you his 2020 closing ad, okay? So you can compare.
Okay.
Jamie, I DM'd that to you as well. It's the Trump tweet that says vote, vote, vote. This is what he released today as basically his closing ad. And just look at how different this is.
Okay.
Hold on. Gave me a lead in like I was already ready.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I get excited sometimes. But that was a good ad, right?
That
was a damn good ad.
Great fucking
Made me
ad.
want to take a time machine and go back and vote for him.
I mean, it's a great ad.
Oh, this starts off at the
How is Joe Jorgensen doing?
I don't know.
0.6%.
Imagine if she won.
Phenomenal.
She's got 0.6%.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This is bad.
The dance.
I don't know if we're allowed to play that.
Okay, then mute it, but keep it going, because this is the whole
at him
fucking
dancing.
thing, Joe Rogan.
She's just dancing.
Is this the song play the whole time?
I
dancing?
actually don't remember how long it plays.
What is
but
I
that?
also got to be honest. I also like this one.
That move. He does that move everywhere.
I'm also equally as swayed by this.
That's the Macho Man song, isn't it? Isn't it
YMCA,
Village People?
yeah.
why? Yeah.
Is it YMCA?
Yeah.
But what he's doing is he's
Give me some
saying all
volume
that
on
stuff
that.
about NAFTA
Listen
with
here
his
a little bit
hands.
for a second. Why is that his ad?
All right, mute it. I don't want to get this.
That
pulled.
is, yeah, mute it. That is his ad?
This is the ad,
The
Joe Rogan.
YMCA?
It's
Yes.
Every other song he was playing, they got DMs, like they told him to stop playing it. They got cease and desist orders. for
But
it,
he's
so-
showing he's young, he's vital, he just got done with COVID. He's
But,
Look at his
okay,
dancing.
here's the thing, Joe. Like, his
He's like an
attacks
amazing
against
non-person,
his
you know?
attacks against Biden don't resonate as much as his attacks against Hillary resonated.
He's
Because
moving his legs.
What is it? His legs are broken.
They're stuck to the ground.
His knees don't work.
he's like paralyzed.
But what a weird dance. I'm gonna start doing that.
It's like a guy that was in a car accident.
he's got it on a loop. He
You know
just got
some-
the same dance on a
This
loop.
is a crazy ad. But so it's just
He
music.
made a TikTok video is what he did.
So yeah,
It's a
and
3-minute TikTok
But it's
video.
just music and him dancing.
That's right.
That is so bizarre.
Okay, so now,
This
but
dance
beyond
is
this,
viral.
Joe, because the main argument he's using against Joe Biden is Joe Biden is some sort of radical socialist Antifa lover, and that's not landing.
But look at this ad is so dumb. Look at this ad. Someone hates him. Someone inside the White House hates him, and they made this ad. They're like, I'm gonna sink his fucking battleship with this shit.
I think,
I'm
you're,
gonna
I
have
think
him
you're both shitting on it, but I think he's
Get out
basically
and
saying
vote.
get out and vote.
It's ridiculous.
Do you think he knows it's over?
He
Does he
should.
feel it?
Maybe he doesn't want to win. Who knows? Maybe secretly doesn't want to win.
This is the craziest thing I've ever
It's
seen.
the dumbest ad I've ever seen. This move is so strange.
Vote,
so
vote. He
strange.
tweeted that with the words vote, vote, vote.
Let's get some updates.
27 million views on that.
27 million. Well, 27 million people going, what the fuck is this? We're gonna get some. We're gonna get some updates.
All right, let's see.
See where we're at.
Go with Fox.
I say it's all red now.
This is updated as of right now.
Trump is up.
The biggest one I think that I've seen so far is Florida's reporting at 89%. Trump is leading.
Trump is leading, so Trump needs that state to have any chance, and it looks like he's in the lead by 2%, which is actually not terrible at 89% in, which is actually looks like it's solid for him at the moment.
Okay, so he's gonna win.
Well, not necessarily, and wait until they call it, but he.
I mean, this could. I think it's.
I'll go
I think.
Here, Fox News.
Okay, what? So if he wins Florida, what else does he do? Wow, look at that.
He just gets Ohio
okay.
or Pennsylvania. He's in.
No.
Okay.
He needs. If he wins Florida, the next thing you have to look at is Pennsylvania, and he must win Pennsylvania as well.
How's Pennsylvania
Okay.
looking?
Pennsylvania's
looking
leaning
pretty
blue at the
blue.
moment,
7%.
and that's all the mail-ins. The mail-ins are 76% Biden, which is what I told you earlier, that the mail-ins are going to be pro-Biden, and the on-the-day votes are going to be pro-Trump. But he needs Pennsylvania, he needs Florida, he needs Ohio.
So Pennsylvania, the polls are still open.
Pennsylvania, I'll tell you in one
Yeah,
second.
they. It says open.
Hold on, I'll tell you in 1 second.
It's 10 p.m. there,
Pennsylvania.
right? Oh, 9 p.m. Or we have
It says open, but it says closed at 8
so they have to count.
Yes, Pennsylvania closed at 8, but they're counting. And they're starting again with the mail-in votes, which is why Biden has such a strong lead at the moment. But in the polling, in Pennsylvania, Biden was up about 5 or 6 points in the average of the polling. So that's basically Trump's biggest hurdle to winning the election is Pennsylvania, because he's down 5 or 6 points there. So if he can win Florida, which it looks good for him now in Florida, Trump, then it comes down to Pennsylvania, and if he can win Pennsylvania, then you're really having a conversation about the election.
Well, that's what I. Right. That's what I said.
But I thought you were saying that was it, and he wins.
No,
after
no.
that.
I was
okay.
saying that was it. Now we can play the ad again.
Then he's in the ball game.
Everybody gets excited again.
Then he's in the ball game. He's in the ball
Then
game.
he's in
if
the
that
ball
happens.
game with the riots start. Let's get the riots going. Let's
So-
get the bricks.
If he wins Florida and he wins Pennsylvania, what else does he have to do to win?
Ohio. He's got to win Ohio.
And what does Joe Biden have to do to win at this point?
If Joe Biden, first of all, Texas looks blue right now. I'm not
That's
saying it's going to stay like that. If Joe Biden wins Texas, it's
Time
game,
to
set, match.
move
It's
back.
over. If Joe Biden somehow comes back in Florida now, he wins. It's over. Game,
That's
set,
the
match.
problem is all my people from California bailed out of California, moved here. Like there was a big push, turn Texas blue. That was like a big thing.
Yeah.
No, this really is fascinating because I think Texas is going to go red, but I thought Florida was going to go blue. So we'll see.
Google is showing it in a way that's a little more easy to look at.
Okay.
It's just over here.
By the way, scroll down, Jamie, for 1 second. North Carolina is an important swing state, and right now Biden's up just a little bit there. And by the way, Biden up in Ohio as well, even though there's probably early votes and just mail-in, but that's big too because Trump needs Ohio and he needs Pennsylvania.
What's
And
interesting too is the numbers of people voted. It seems like way more people are voting.
huge turnout, Joe.
Huge
turnout. Gigantic.
turnout.
What's the number?
I'll pull them up for you right now.
There's 102 early.
Whoa.
And
I didn't vote because I felt too
So
many people were voting.
get this.
Isn't the early vote more than all of the vote from
No, it was.
Yes.
some years?
Wait,
Oh,
yes,
some
that's what I was
years,
going to say. For Texas
How about
specifically.
you let him answer since he's the fucking expert?
You were looking at me.
Jamie's like, no.
For
Don't
Texas
grab me.
specifically, yes. Texas passed the total number of votes in their voting in their mail-in votes.
They passed.
They surpassed their 2016 total in just the mail-in.
That's insane.
That is
Where
insane.
did you vote?
That's
New York?
insane.
I didn't vote.
Oh, you didn't vote?
No, I did not.
Wow. Wow.
I can't believe you're surprised by that.
Well, I know you weren't going to vote for Biden, but I didn't know you were not going to vote, period. Why is that?
What was I going to do? Vote for Trump?
No. Go Joe Jorgensen.
Or do
I didn't vote because
Kanye West.
it looked kind of
Kanye
gross.
West?
It looked gross, the voting, because they were doing it in firehouses and libraries. It was a little grotesque. And they all stand outside with masks. It seemed very low rent. I went to dinner instead. And that's how I've been doing it for years. I think that's a good, healthy way to do it.
let me explain why I did what I did. So basically, for me, it came down to, obviously I'm not going to support Trump. I've ripped him a million ways to Sunday, and I'll continue to do that. I think he's been effectively governed as an establishment Republican with tax cuts for the wealthy and continuing the wars. And to me, you're done. I have no interest in more tax cuts for the rich. I have no interest in continued wars. I have no interest in deregulation and stuff like that. For Biden, my political awakening came with the Iraq War in 2003, when we basically were lied into a war, and we continued that illegal war. And he was one of the guys who voted for it. And listen, I truly believe that everybody who voted for that Iraq War should be in prison. I think they're all war criminals. It was an illegal war, even according to the UN. And over 200,000 innocent civilians are dead. So basically, I couldn't bring myself to do it because that was the most foundational thing that happened when I was growing up, getting involved in politics, and I just can't look past that. That's not a little thing to me. So now, if you want me to give you my breakdown of the candidates, do I think overall Joe Biden is a lesser evil? I do, because Joe Biden's going to get us back in the Iran deal, Joe Biden's going to get us back in the Paris Climate Agreement, and those things I think are really important. But I just couldn't bring myself to pull a lever, especially because I live in New York, and New York's a safe state anyway. It's not like my vote matters. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it, man. Just couldn't do it.
Do you take heat for that?
I didn't disclose what I was going to do yet until right now, and so now I'm saying
you disclosed that you weren't going to vote for Biden. People were already giving you heat for that.
Yeah, well, I said that right after the primary when the feelings were raw with Bernie getting screwed again. So that's why I said it then.
Just take that lane down.
Listen,
Is he that nice of a guy?
he really likes Joe Biden, number one. Number two, I think he really buys into the lesser evil framework where he thinks have to pay. I'm going to go with the guy who's, better on more of the things that I agree. Like, for example, Biden has signed up for doing Bernie Sanders' living wage idea, $15 minimum wage. And so, Bernie takes that and he goes, okay, this is enough for me to go out there and push you and make an argument for you. Now, will Biden actually do that? I don't know. I hope he will. I have no idea if he actually will, okay?
What are the arguments against that?
Well, people say, oh, it's going to lead to an increase in unemployment because small businesses can't afford to, pay for it, especially at a time like right now with COVID where small businesses are having a hard time staying open either way. But there's also arguments that there's jobs for young people that perhaps still work at home. The data doesn't bear that out, though. There's plenty of people who work full-time and they make a minimum wage.
But you don't want people that are making the fillet of fish complacent. Like, you want them working. They need to know there are stakes. Whitney Cummings just texted me. She's like, I can't believe you guys are eating fillet of fish. It's like, shut up. She yelled at me for not voting. She said it's bad for my career.
Tell her I said, thank you, because she's backing up my fillet of fish argument.
She said it will be bad for my career if I don't vote. She goes, do you want to be the person in 2020 who didn't vote? And I said, yes.
I mean, listen, it is what it is. You live in California, right?
I live in California. It's not a swing state.
Are you registered to vote there or no?
I don't know. My business manager called me and goes, should we register you to vote? I said, I'm trying to get my license back. I got a suspended license in New York. They're trying to put me in jail. Let's focus on that, and then we'll get to voting. We'll get to voting in 3 or 4 months.
Tim used to sell subprime mortgages.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
and my
was part of the problem.
And my living
he was
taken
coked
from
out of his
me
mind and
by an authoritarian government who took me and a lot of men from Long Island who were trying to help people realize the American dream were unfairly painted as criminals just because we were expanding people's ability to get credit. Sorry, I wanted everyone to have a pool.
yeah.
A lot of
So
people don't get that perspective. I'm glad you brought that up.
And I'm here to give it.
you started out selling subprime mortgages.
Yes.
I started out selling cars,
Oh wow!
and I as well was also on many substances
Oh, that's so funny.
as I was doing it.
That stuff. Were you good? What kind of cars were you selling?
I was selling Chevys, and
were you like a good salesman, or
no,
you like a piker?
I'm too nice, and I don't give a fuck if the person buys the car or not. I mean,
Okay,
obviously I
well,
want to get
that's-
paid,
yeah, that's
but
not
like,
drugs were you on?
I'm too honest. What I was gonna say is I was probably the #1 consumer of Four Loko back when it was the original.
Okay, well, you
Four
needed
Loko,
stronger drugs.
which is
that clearly didn't do
fucking,
it.
it's cocaine in a can. Are you kidding me?
That's not really a drug. We were doing cocaine off our desk.
Well, if I had
Okay.
that, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
But Four Loko was taken off the shelves because people were having fucking
Listen,
heart
buddy,
attacks and shit.
we were doing lines of blow off our desk and then taking people's 1040s with whiteout and getting deals done.
Jamie's just motioned to me to get you guys try to not talk over each other.
Oh, shit.
I
My bad.
apologize,
Very
Jamie.
rough.
Kyle
What?
was moving into your camera. Is what I was
Is that as well?
I keep doing that. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
scoot this way more.
You
Have
need
I
to
been
learn-
doing
we
that
need-
the whole
We
time?
need to learn sign language. Both of us do.
I know how to spell it, but it takes too long.
Dude, the sign language interpreters are so out of control
Do you
now.
remember the
They're
one,
so
the
extra.
fake one next to
fake one?
Obama?
That was hilarious.
He had no idea what he was doing. He was
Yeah.
just doing a bunch of TikTok moves, and the guy got 3 inches away from Obama.
That's insane.
Unbelievable.
It shows you how fucking poorly managed a lot of
Yeah.
those situations are, where like such poor security,
Right.
poor planning. You have a fucking guy you don't even know.
Stand
whether or not
President
his-
of the United
By
States.
the president.
How long, I want to know how long he was doing that too before people.
It was a
who
while.
Actually, sign are like, hey, what is that? What is this craziness?
What the fuck?
By the way, that shows how important confidence is, because the person started doing it just really confidently, like they belong there,
Yeah,
and that was
yeah.
enough for everybody to be like, I
Well,
guess that person belongs there.
all of the people now, it's disgusting what they do. They're very big and everything, and it's like, we get it, but you're distracting, because most people can't hear. So what you're doing is you're distracting. For me, I'm trying to listen to the message. It's very distracting to have somebody who's very, like, over the top doing it. And that's true.
I get it.
Deaf people, for the most part, are very rude.
There was a ruling today about Gavin Newsom. There was a ruling about Gavin Newsom that is something about his using unconstitutional policies. Yeah, he's a unliked man right now in California.
Well, talking of car salesman, he looks like the sleaziest car salesman on the planet.
Well, he looks like a guy who should be president. Like he looks like a
In
president.
a movie.
Yeah.
In a movie, maybe.
He looks like he looks like a president. He sounds like a president.
He's a good-looking dude.
Judge rules to limit California governor's powers amid pandemic, and he's out of fucking control.
He's out of his mind.
Well, it's amazing how much money people are losing too. Like Disneyland. Disneyland is losing some insane number of millions of dollars a day. The order prevents Gavin Newsom from exercising any power under California Emergency Services Act, which amends, alters, or changes existing statutory law or makes new statutory law or legislative policy. The judge determined that the California Emergency Services Act itself was constitutional, but noted that it does not permit the governor to amend statutes or make new statutes. That's what I've been saying the whole time. He's like, this guy is an autocrat. The governor does not have the power or authority to assume the legislator's role of creating legislative policy and enactments. It's just so spooky how people get into power and you find out how much they love using it. Go back to that again. It says, determining one of his orders was an unconstitutional exercise of legislative power. Yeah, gross. It's scary there, man. Like they're giving you orders on what you can do for Thanksgiving. Like
It's crazy.
You can't have more than 3 families. You can't have any singing. You can't.
Wait a minute.
You have to be outside.
Is that true?
Yeah. No
No
singing.
singing?
No singing. You have to be
No
outside.
singing?
It has to only go on for 2 hours. As if after 2 hours everyone turns into a pumpkin.
This is absurd, and this is an abuse of power, and he must be. You gotta stop this.
They do have to stop. But just the type of person that would say that.
It's crazy.
Imagine being a governor. You're dealing with half your fucking state's on fire. Like everyone's out of work, and you're like, you can't sing. Don't sing.
That's absurd.
And your parties, you have
Wait,
to. you
is
have
this
to go-
real? They can't
I don't
sing?
think
Yes.
Yes.
I saw this going around too, and I didn't think it was real when I saw it. Didn't look into it. I'm looking into it now.
Yeah, look into it now. That
It
doesn't
says
sound
it's-
real.
There was something put out, but our favorite website, Snopes, says this is false.
Yeah, that's like
fuck
some
Snopes.
that's like
Dude,
some
Snopes
fucking
is
some
CIA
Facebook meme or some
propaganda.
shit, Joe.
I
That's
saw
what
it
that
on
is.
Fox News. No, don't say that unless you're sure. Jamie's wrong all the time with this stuff because he only Googles these lefty, liberal fake news sites.
Snopes.
Snopes is a fake news site. They get busted all the time for fake news. Very biased, by the way. The guy who runs Snopes, like he's a huge Democrat. Like the whole organization is heavily left leaning.
But wait, that didn't set the alarms off to you. You can't sing. What fucking government agency
Dude,
would do
I'm
that?
telling
You
you.
can't sing.
I'm
But
telling
that's
you.
next. I think maybe 6 months ago that might have been funny, but now it's like, now you're like, okay, I'm sure that's going to be next.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was on Fox News.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't live.
Well, Fox News is certainly
I'm not
always
saying
right.
it wasn't being passed around, but I'm saying that it was being passed around under
There it
false
is.
pretenses.
On Fox News, it says no
Yeah.
more than 3 households present, parties no longer than 2 hours, guests must stay outside, avoid singing, chanting, and shouting.
Right, but
Yeah, but again,
How are
where
you
is
gonna
that
do-
coming
that's
from?
Fox News.
California
like, am I really
Department of Public
convinced?
Health. It's a quote from the California Department of Public. Just Google it, you fuck, and don't interrupt Kyle anymore. So,
I asked him. I did ask him that time. I said that sounded fake. You got to look that
A
up.
meme
California
circulating on
governs-
Facebook says this is not accurate.
Fuck Snopes. Celebrities rip California governor's news. It's got to be.
Yeah, that they couldn't. they
Coronavirus
can't fall
is
for a meme.
California. Gavin Newsom's Thanksgiving rules. Click on that.
That's Daily Mail, though.
I know, it's not
But they're saying what I want to hear. Do you not understand how this works?
This is like an experiment in, ideological
They're
confirmation
saying
bias.
what I want to hear. The guidelines. There must be a link. The October.
That's the part. Yeah, there never is a link. Is the
There must
problem with these?
Hold on.
Listen, Chuck Woolery
I know,
is
he's-
backing us up.
You're moving too fast. Go back
Chuck
up.
Woolery.
Oh, well, there's all these dumb pop-ups there.
We'll be right back in 2 and 2. The order requires a host of, announce ahead of Thanksgiving holiday defined gatherings of social situations, bring people together from different households at the same time in a single space or place. The order requires that a host of private gatherings to limit attendance. Stop. You're moving
I'm
so.
trying to find a link to
But you're
find the order.
moving while I'm reading. You know that, right?
Well, here's the link that would tell us
Okay,
if this is
hit it.
accurate or not.
Let's go. California Department of Public Health. Summary. This provides an updated plan for California to gather outside their household and replaces the prior gatherings guidelines issued on September 12th. Scroll up again.
I'm just frozen.
Mandatory requirements for all gatherings. Scroll.
It's frozen.
Oh. Of course it's frozen. It's a goddamn California website. Piece of shit.
How do they get rid of chanting when in California everyone's a Satanist, and they need that occult chant?
That's a good
It's
question.
not considerate.
How funny is that the
We
website
probably
crashes?
crashed the website. Well, we're live.
How do
Oh
we
my
get-
God.
That's right, we're
Watching.
live. We're live.
Whoa, that's
Wow.
crazy.
I forgot we're live.
There we go.
That's
Got it.
fucking crazy.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. Mandatory requirements for gathering. Attendance. Gatherings must include gatherings that include more than 3 households are prohibited. Okay, this is exactly what it said. Snopes, you fucks. Stop scrolling. Keep the households that you interact with stable.
It was the
over
singing-
time.
singing thing
By
I'm curious about.
By spending time with the same people, risk of transmission is reduced. Okay, gather outdoors. Gatherings that occur outdoors are significantly safer than indoor gatherings. All gatherings must be held outside. Again, that's what the thing said. Attendees may go inside to use the restroom as long as restrooms are frequently sanitized. Jeez, they're telling you have to sanitize your fucking restroom if you want to go inside. Gatherings may occur in outdoor spaces that are covered by umbrellas, canopies, awnings, roofs, and other shade structures that provide at least 3 sides of this space or 75% open to the outdoors. This is fucking outrageous. Okay, the COVID part is, gatherings of no more than 3 households is permitted in a public park or outdoor space. If unrelated gatherings of other groups up to 3 households also occurring in the same park or outdoor space. If multiple such gatherings are occurring, mixing between the group gatherings is not allowed. You can't mix with other people that you see at the park. Additionally, multiple gatherings of 3 households cannot be jointly organized or coordinated to occur in the same public park. Oh my God. So what else does it say? Scroll down. Seating must provide at least 6 feet of distance in all directions. Everyone at the gathering should frequently wash their hands with soap and water. Like, fucking duh. Shared items should not be allowed during the gatherings as much as possible. Any food or beverage outside gatherings must be in single-serve disposable containers. Wear face coverings to keep COVID from spreading. When gathering, face coverings must be worn in accordance with CDPH. Unless exemptions are applicable, people at gatherings may remove the face covering briefly to eat or drink, as long as they stay at least 6 feet from everyone else.
Singing, right there. Singing,
Yes.
chanting, and shouting.
Fuck Snopes.
It doesn't say you can't.
Shut your mouth, Jamie.
No.
You're a
So,
communist.
wait, so here's my question. Here's my question, Joe. Because obviously,
Singing, chanting, shouting, and physical exertion significantly increases the risk of COVID-19 because these activities increase the risk of release of respiratory droplets and fine aerosols in the air. Because of this, singing, chanting, and shouting are strongly discouraged. But if they occur, the following rules and recommendations apply. All people who are singing and chanting should wear a face covering at all times while singing or chanting, including anyone who's leading a song or chant. Because these activities pose a very high risk of COVID-19 transmission, face coverings are essential to reduce the spread.
So-
people who are singing, chanting, or exercising are strongly encouraged to maintain physical distancing beyond 6 feet.
okay,
Come on, man.
so Joe, first of all, yes, that's silly. You win. But here's the question.
Thank you. I like hearing that. Say it
It's
again.
true. I mean, yes,
Say it again, Jamie.
it says
It's true.
it
Snopes
says
is wrong.
singing.
Snopes
Right.
is wrong.
So, but here's the question, though.
crazy.
Like, are they just listing this to try to be like a helicopter parent to say this is what you should do, or is there actually an enforcement mechanism where they're going to have the LAPD knock on your door?
Well, there's too many people. They can't
Right,
do that.
they can't do
but they
it.
have done that to large gatherings in California.
They
shut
shut
the
down
water
the
off.
TikTok,
The power.
the TikTok house,
Yeah.
and these people are patriots. They were having a party, and they shut down. I think the Sway House, I believe it's called, and they were having a party, and they cut the water off to the TikTok house.
That's
Yeah,
rude.
but
That's crazy.
What if
that
everybody
is
has
crazy.
shit?
But
Right.
aren't they, when they shut it off, isn't it like these giant fucking parties where everybody's 2 inches away
but
from
here's-
each other,
yeah.
breathing on each other?
Yeah, but you know
You're
what?
right.
That's America.
Hey, I'm not arguing against it. I'm just asking the question. Wasn't that their reasoning?
You have to be near a person because it's a group dance. So you can't social distance. You're not in frame.
Yeah, how are you going to
Kyle.
TikTok when some
Yeah.
people are 6 feet away from you? What kind of
Kyle,
phone
these
do
are
you
all
have?
kids. These are 17-year-old millionaires. They don't give a shit about COVID.
Yeah, they're not going to.
They really are 17-year-old
They're
millionaires. aren't they?
trillionaires. They're fine.
And they're TikToking.
I love how they're like, hey, Thanksgiving in the park, 30% of California is homeless. It's like, what?
I know, right?
See what I'm saying with Snopes? Like, you got to be careful with
No,
that.
no, you're right. That's definitely what you said. It is what it is. I guess my only question is
Snopes splits
the
hairs.
enforcement mechanism.
They'll say false if it doesn't align
Listen.
with their ideals.
I think you're 100% right. My only point was I also show caution when it's fucking Fox News. Because, Sean Hannity's not exactly this bastion of
But when
fucking
they
intelligence.
print it, I think when they print it on the screen, it has to be true.
I worked they had me on Red Eye, the show there, and I used to wear a tie, and I got to say whatever I want. I think it's a great institution.
Well, Tucker Carlson's doing something right.
It's true. Look, he's show,
The number one show in
It's the number
news.
one show.
Well,
Yeah.
Bill O'Reilly was number one before him. You know
Was
that,
he?
right? Yeah, he was number one for
And he did a
fucking
lot of
years.
things. He did a lot of things right
Years.
besides all of the rape. That's the bad
The
thing.
loofah thing. Remember
People
that?
are complex.
I would like to pay the girl who got 32 million. I'd like to
$34
give her.
million.
I'd like to give her 35.
Yeah,
Just
To tell the
find
story.
out.
just to find out what he did.
Wasn't
Somebody.
it just like, he was trying to flirt and he called a loofah falafel by accident?
No, I think he did something.
That happened. That definitely happened.
He did do that, but I do think that for 32 million, there's bodies buried. Like he did something so crazy.
Yeah, so much money.
I
It's
can see
a lot
that.
of money.
see that.
She has like the possession in her possession tapes that are like True Detective season 1. I mean, it's bad.
It's got to be
I
crazy.
mean, when you pay that much money, you're really trying to bury something.
You're
right?
guilty.
You got to
You
be.
are guilty.
But he's still doing really well with his political show online, apparently. Why are you making that face?
Because who the fuck's watching Bill O'Reilly?
Well, we researched this, and there's
Really?
like millions of views.
Well, he does all these books now. He writes all these books with that guy Martin Dugard, and the books are like killing Stalin, killing Kennedy,
Killing my mom.
killing Princess Di, killing the woman I paid $34 million to.
He makes a lot of money.
He does,
He makes a lot of money on those stupid
Oh,
books.
yeah, they were bestsellers.
Because who reads? Old people that hate.
Which is why I'm
Lefties.
surprised that his
Yeah.
fucking thing online is doing well. Because, there's like it was all geriatric people watching. No disrespect to geriatric people. I love you.
Commensurate numbers to you. I think he's doing better than you.
I would be surprised if he's doing better than me in terms
No,
of
you're doing very
viewership.
well. You're doing very well, but I really think he is.
And where's he primarily hosting his show?
Well, I don't know if he's on YouTube, but he's on BillO'Reilly.com, right? We looked it up.
So
and we were
it's his
stunned.
own website?
Yeah, I remember Jamie and I looked it up once.
That's
it was
even
about
more
a year and a
impressive
half ago. We were stunned by the number of views on each page, on each video.
That's even more impressive if he did it on his own website, because that's hard to do. Usually you have to go to a thing that hosts it. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows, go to YouTube and see stuff, or you know, whatever outlet.
Isn't it amazing that YouTube has a solid lockdown on that? I mean,
it is.
They are the #1 platform on planet Earth for people just uploading videos. There's no one even close.
And I don't think they're handling the responsibility of it well, because they've tweaked algorithms to deprioritize what they call borderline outlets.
And that's you.
That's definitely me.
Now, what makes you borderline? Because you're not with a giant organization?
I really think that that's probably it. The fact that I don't answer to anybody. I'm my own person. I could say whatever I want, whenever I want. And simply put, they don't know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Right. But let me push back on that.
Sure.
They don't do anything to me.
Then I'm impressed.
They don't.
I'm impressed by that then.
But think about that. I mean, my videos get fucking insane numbers.
They really do. They do
so
really well.
how is that? That doesn't make sense.
I don't know, man. You'd have to talk to them. But what I'm convinced of is that there's different levels to how much they prioritize you and how much the algorithm pushes you out to new people. And, you know, I've actually talked about this. We mentioned Jimmy Dore earlier. Him and I have had 1,000 conversations about this, where we know other channels that were similar size to us, and we were chugging along all at basically the same rate. And then out of nowhere, when I was gaining 30 or 40,000 new subscribers a month, it flowed to 6,000.
Is it
thereabouts.
possible that it's less nefarious and that they made some sort of a deal with just political outlets across the board?
Well, that is it, because they admitted it. They actually released it. They have this thing where they tell you what they're going to do, and one of the things they said is, in order to combat fake news, they want to make sure that the stuff that gets recommended is the respected outlets, namely CNN, Fox News,
Yeah,
MSNBC.
You know what? I listen to your shit. I watch your videos all the time. They never get recommended to me.
Exactly.
Well,
That's exactly it.
Why don't you go on the dark web? But because then you're
The
selling
next video
coke
is
and
pedo
killing
jerking
kids.
off. Exactly.
But you want to be independent.
But
Here's
you're really
the interesting-
independent, you know?
Your videos get recommended occasionally. I should be really honest about this. But Jimmy Dore's get recommended all the time.
That could just be that you watch more him than me, because honestly, as long as you're a subscriber and you watch my stuff, then they will recommend it to you. The issue is they don't recommend it that much to new viewers. So it used to be, if you're watching a CNN video or you're watching some other news outlet, they could recommend one of my videos, because I used to get better views than they do. Now they pump theirs out all the time and they surpass me.
So that would be non-related. So people have never looked at you at all.
Yes.
So that's
So
you're
new
not getting that. Right.
Right, that's right.
Okay,
See, get this, during the 2016 election, 2016, I was gaining 30 to 40,000 subscribers a month. Now it's like 6,000. And other channels that are not deprioritized are still gaining that or more, 40,000, 50,000.
Do you think there's what happens if someone like CNN puts out information that's demonstrably false?
See, then that's the next point that I was going to make, which is it's ridiculous that they even have this notion that, like, well, these are the real outlets and these are the fake outlets. Listen, you brought up Russiagate before. From the beginning, I was saying, here's what's going to happen with Russiagate. Absolutely nothing. The people were thinking that Donald Trump was going to get pulled out of... I just followed the evidence, Joe. It's not that difficult. You just have to look at whatever... I'm sorry, I'm getting mad. Whatever the intelligence agencies say, usually it's bullshit. These are the same people who lied us into the fucking Iraq war. Now I'm supposed to listen to them when they tell me that the president's a Manchurian candidate?
Right.
There's an old saying, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. They didn't present any real evidence. It was just a bunch of screaming idiots like Rachel Maddow every night.
Did you see Ted Cruz cross-examining Comey about about testimony about Russia, about evidence that was emails that were edited, and they were the emails were edited to imply a completely different outcome than what the email actually said?
Yeah, I did not see that.
It's crazy.
But that's a battle of smug motherfuckers there. Comey versus Cruz.
It is, but I really respected Ted Cruz for that conversation. It was stunning.
Yeah.
It was stunning. It was stunning listening to them say, and Comey was just basically, I don't recall that. This is not what I'm aware of, and Cruz reads off of the email. He reads the actual real original email, and then he reads the email that was put into submitted as evidence and how it was edited.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. It's disturbing.
It's incredibly disturbing
that someone in the intelligence community could get away with that. Whoever did it. Whoever edited that,
but
just to make Trump look like a
get
bad
away
guy.
with a lot.
That's what I'm saying. They lie all the time, Joe, just because they're, they're official and they don't curse like I do or whatever, and they seem like they're more relaxed when they talk. They're liars. And CNN oftentimes puts out stuff that's completely untrue. All the mainstream media outlets do. And there's never a moment of reckoning where it's like, okay, well, that was fake news, actually. And what the independent guys were saying was actually correct.
Was it you that was telling me that Brian Stelter was saying don't listen to other news outlets?
It wasn't me, but I do know what you're talking about, yes.
I was having a conversation with someone, and they were telling me that he literally was saying don't listen to other news outlets because they're not going to tell you the truth. We're going to tell you the truth.
That sounds like a cult thing, right? Doesn't it?
It does.
That's what it
sound like
does.
a cult thing. But when they've been wrong and haven't told you the truth about a number of things that are provable.
Look at Syria. There's another great example. How long were they telling us about Syria? That, Assad did a gas attack against his own people. And then you have whistleblowers who were doing the investigations who were like, this is not true at all.
Yeah.
And then they never correct themselves. Meanwhile, then there's people like me and there's people like Jimmy who are like, they're wrong about this. And we get deprioritized when we say stuff like that. There's never a moment where it's like, oh, actually, they were right.
It's interesting because you have to stay independent, and so does Jimmy. Like, people like you there's no way Jimmy Dore could do that show if he was on some sort of a coordinated network.
Can't have a boss. No way.
He's too wild.
No, I can't have one either. I'm not going to listen to somebody tell me, say this or don't say this.
But Jimmy Dore, like you said, he spits fire. He gets crazy.
Right, yeah.
He gets crazy. He says some wild shit. And, because he's a comedian as well.
I know, yeah. You can see that influence when he talks.
I would like a boss. I would like to be sponsored by Chase Manhattan or Citigroup or
and they pay well. I hear
Exxon, a company with
I hear they pay well
with mine. And
one of the best conspiracy theories from the podcast we did with Alex
Yes.
is they think that there's a woman's voice
yeah,
in
What?
one of the clips saying, "Relax, we're here." But it's actually me.
I had to double check
yeah,
on
but
that
who
last
do they?
night.
So who
You
do they?
gotta double check it.
I wanted to make sure. I was like, maybe something slid in there that I didn't know
They
about.
think it was like an alien
Maybe
or
someone's in my ear, like there's
Oh.
someone directing the
someone
show.
from Spotify.
Like
yeah.
someone directing the show with Alex fucking Jones
Yeah.
and Tim fucking Dillon
Yeah.
and me.
that must drive you crazy that it couldn't
No, I
be
think
more
it's funny.
obvious that there's no steering that ship and people are accusing you of like obviously somebody steering
but
it.
It's the most ridiculous steering too. It's me telling Alex, "Relax, we're here. Relax, we're here." And they're like, "It's a woman's voice. You hear that? Here's a woman's voice." Like I had a friend send this to me, Cameron Haynes. Cameron Haynes sent it to me. He goes, "Play this." He goes, "What is that voice?" I go, "That's me, motherfucker. That's me going, relax, we're here, relax. There's a woman's voice. There's a woman's voice."
I love Spotify being like, listen, nothing's going to change about the show. We are going to have a woman in your ear for the full 3 hours.
And she's gonna tell people
Yeah,
to relax.
she's going to tell people to relax, and she's just
I
going to
saw-
remind you that Spotify's here.
I saw
Other than that, nothing
I saw your
changes.
video on that with the pink hair and the
Yeah. yeah.
Rich.
Well, they're fun. The tech people are fun. I mean, you got to laugh at this. You got to enjoy it. What I worry about is there's far too many people that aren't going to enjoy what's clearly the end of the country and treat it with laughter. And I think they're going to go out and try to kill each other and ruin businesses and ruin property instead of just accepting that this was a good run, that we had a fun run as an empire, and now it's kind of coming apart. But everything's not horrible. There's still certain niceties.
it really
Fillet
is
of
coming
fish.
apart for sure.
Filet of fish. I mean, it is
coming apart.
It's
I
coming
saw
apart.
some violence today at one of the polls in North Carolina. What do you got here,
I was
Jamie?
just throwing it up there. As of this moment, which whatever it's almost 8:30, Trump is leading the popular vote, but not the electoral college.
And I mean, if
Trump
that-
is ahead.
That's not
26
that's not going to
million,
hold.
Right,
Jamie.
I'm just
25 million.
There's a 0% chance that holds.
Someone sounds like a fucking expert over here. Let me
Have we
see-
gotten any
Can
more?
I see the rest of the states?
Yeah, right.
Scroll
exactly.
down. We see all the states. Wait a minute. Wyoming went red. That's weird.
I can't believe that.
That's so odd.
Are you saying it's Cheyenne,
Jamie,
Wyoming?
go
Can you,
back to the
Jamie, can
map.
you show me how much of the Texas vote is in by hovering over the Texas thing?
63%.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Dude, that's
Yeah, but
crazy.
look how close it is.
Yeah, but Democrats are
49,
supposed to lose it
49.
by 15 points,
I know,
Joe.
but look at it. But look at it. 49 to 49, 49.6 to 49.1. That's real close.
I know, but it should be Donald Trump plus 15 there.
Yeah, because all my fucking asshole people moved here from
This is
California.
Joe Rogan's fault.
It's not my fault. But people like me who were the looting in the pandemic. Like, we're done. We're out of here.
Hey,
Wait
now,
a
let
minute.
me-
Missouri's blue?
No,
Missouri?
that's not going to hold. How much is in? Yeah, I don't think that's
If
going to hold.
Biden wins Texas, it's over, right?
Yes, no, there's no prayer for Trump if Biden wins Texas.
What if
Really?
Biden wins
It's over.
Texas, Joe? You got to pack up and go home.
What do I do?
You got to go back.
On the podcast, and he's
Go
going
back
to
to LA.
barely,
We open the
Yeah, but
comedy
barely
store.
speak
It
coherently.
was another Well,
You have
see,
a nice few
I
months.
think there's a reason why Texas is fun, and I don't think you can have that with a Democrat.
You can't.
Yeah, but like, what's he
The
going to
same-
do? He's
yeah.
not going to force Texas to do like
Well, the last Democrat was what? Ann Richards.
last Democratic governor?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
Which
I think it
Ann
was-
Richards.
I think it was Ann Richards.
Yeah.
Who,
And George
who
W.
seemed
Bush.
like a Republican.
Yeah,
That's what happens in red states. Yeah, it's like Joe Manchin. Yeah, Joe Manchin is a West Virginia Democrat. He's basically a Republican.
Look at Austin, disgusting and blue, just sitting there like a big blue zit in the middle of the city.
Dallas, all the big cities, Joe.
God damn it!
That's what happens. All the big cities go left, and all the
God
rural
damn.
areas go right.
But isn't that the case with? I mean, that's the whole reason why New York and California. We were talking about
right.
that before. That big cities always go blue.
Always.
Why?
Usually, they're younger. People are closer together.
But why does that make people Democratic? What do you think?
I mean,
that is?
listen, there's something to be said about if you live the kind of rural lifestyle. It's almost like, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all, but I'm saying like you're the townie of the area.
Sounds
You know what I
pretty
mean?
derogatory to me,
I don't mean
but-
it like that because I'm a townie. I'm still in the place where I grew up. You know, just I guess not in a rural area, more in a more city suburban type area. But
You're
anyway,
saying that the people that live in cities are more civilized.
no, that's
That's what I heard. That was
Kind of what I heard.
Then it did not come out right. No, I
Sounds
really
like
think
you
that
don't
there's
like
something to do with
ranchers.
population density. Has a lot
Yeah.
to do with it. The closer you are to
Yeah.
other people, you feel like, whoa, we got to have some rules to make sure this thing kind of goes smoothly. Whereas you don't need that many rules when the nearest person to you is 5 miles away.
Boy,
You don't
that's
want people telling
simplistic.
you what to do.
I wonder. I'd like to get someone who really understands that to explain it. Some sort of sociologist.
Well, I think
It's always been like that.
I think you
It's
need
always been
more
that
in
cities are-
cities. You need more government, right? I mean,
Yes,
this is what
you need
Kyle's
to
saying.
manage
You
it
need more
better.
government in cities.
Right.
There's an interdependence in cities that doesn't exist outside of them.
That's right.
Right.
So when
That's
you
right.
have that interdependence, you need some type of regulatory, whatever it is, action that enforces those things so that everybody benefits or the great majority of people benefit. When you're in the suburbs or the rural areas, it's kind of people are more likely to be like, hey, leave me the fuck
leave me alone.
Well, that's why it's even more fascinating that Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Republican, was the governor at one point in time.
Well, yeah, because people had had it, right? Rudy Giuliani got elected in New York when people had had it.
Yeah.
So I think when people have had
Well,
it,
they're going to have it after this.
they're going to have it after this. There was 2,800 homicides the year Giuliani got in. That's like 8 a day. And Giuliani got elected, and then what happened was that shift started that started decreasing.
But aren't they tracking higher than that now in New York?
They're going.
post-COVID?
They probably will. I don't know if they're tracking higher than that, but the crime is skyrocketing.
Yeah, and De Blasio defunded the police.
Well,
by
this whole idea of like if you get rid of cops and give social workers the job of police, it's going to work out well. That seems to be a little childish.
Yeah, the de Blasio thing seemed more like an accounting trick, where he was trying to say to the activists, like, whoa, I did the thing you wanted me to do, but he didn't really substantively address the funding for the police. I sent you an article on that a while ago.
Right. So what is the? Break it down for dummies.
We could try to pull up the article to see the details of it, but basically he shuffled money from one part of the police department to another agency where he could say, oh, I defunded the police, but the money's being used for the same thing.
It is amazing how blue Texas looks.
I'm floored by that.
That's
because,
a political realignment. That is wow. If that happens,
listen, they've been saying for a long time that this might happen. I just didn't think it would happen this quickly. I didn't think it would be by 2020 that this happens.
because that would mean
So
if Texas stays blue, right?
He's done.
He's done.
He's done.
Yeah, if
And then the
Biden wins
Republicans are
Texas,
done.
it's over.
Yeah. No way. There's no way.
No path for Trump.
No path.
If Trump loses Florida, it's over.
And how's he doing in Florida?
slightly, but they say it's too close to call, but he's winning.
I wish there was someone I could root for in this election. I really do. I'm having fun in the idea that Trump could win again, just because so many people that despise
don't
him,
like
I
will-
think, are
right.
annoying.
Yes.
But I don't really want him to win.
Right.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get, and it's chaos. You know,
It's chaos.
It's chaos with Biden too, because
but it's a different kind of chaos.
Yeah, I
He's
don't
a
even
zombie.
know where I am.
His brain
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Right. So
But you don't
then you
worry
have
about a
people that-
tweet at 4 a.m.
I love those tweets. But then you get someone who you didn't elect who runs the country. That's where it
you
gets
mean
really
Biden?
weird. Yeah.
I mean, listen.
No. I mean, if Biden is incompetent, and he's-
You're saying so it's the people around him running the country. I get
this
what you're
is
saying.
something that Tim Pool brought up, and I didn't think he was right, but I thought it was a weird thing to bring up. An interesting thing, I should say, to bring up. The 25th Amendment, the idea that the president's unfit. If the president's unfit, that they could exercise that with Biden.
No. First of all, Tim, they tried to do this. There's Democrats who are talking about doing this with Trump.
Yes.
And the point that I made and a lot of other people made is once you open that door of like, oh, I think this person's mentally unfit, mentally incompetent, so I don't care what the voters said, I'm going to override them because I think I'm some sort of expert.
Yeah.
There's no shutting that door. Every single president will have the opposing party say, we're going to go after him because he's not mentally fit,
Well,
whether or
that's
not it's true.
It's not a thing where people who want to take over power, they look at the person in power and they try to find a way that they can do it, but they don't understand that can be used on them.
Exactly.
This is the argument that I was making to those dummies that were running Chaz in Seattle. I was saying, do you understand now that you said you could take people's property by force,
Right.
you can enforce your own laws, you can make your own country inside of a country, you can put up boundaries and borders, and you can enforce those laws with violence. Well, guess what? Now you've opened up the door to someone doing that to you.
Exactly right.
Because they don't have to have any sort of legal precedent. They don't have to have any legislative powers. They just have to have force. Force
That's
and
right.
violence.
People struggle with doing the thought exercises of like the universality of their actions.
Yes.
You know, and this is actually what I brought up earlier with Trump. I always talk about the Obama campaign was spying on me. This is crazy. It's like, yeah. And the NSA is still spying on all Americans. Maybe you should do something about that.
Right, like pardon Snowden.
Is Chaz done
Pardon
now
Snowden,
officially?
Assange as well. Pardon
Gone?
Snowden, pardon Assange.
Yeah, but they won't do that. You know, that's the case with that whole thing that you're talking about, where people want to do something to someone and don't understand those things can happen back to them. That always applies to violence. Like
Absolutely.
people say, I'll go punch that guy in the head. You're like, stop there. Doesn't end there.
Doesn't
It's
stop
not-
there.
The
That's
violence
right.
is a long domino. Like the violence from the Civil War that lasted for decades, where people were still murdering people from the other side that killed their kinfolk.
That's
The
right.
whole punch a Nazi, like
Oh,
everybody was like punch Nazis.
That was the worst.
Well, listen,
by people who should never even think about punching anybody. They were all running around punching Nazi. Like,
Right.
you don't know how to punch.
You
first of
have to
all.
think about violence, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this in a principled way. So, what I mean by that is you have to have a standard, and the standard that I've always defaulted to is only in cases of self-defense from imminent attack, basically. And I think that doctrine works well in your personal life, and I think that doctrine works well as a foreign policy for the entire country.
Yes.
That, hey, the only time we're going to send people to fight and die is when there's really some legit threat of attack against us.
100%. 100%. I agree 100%. But I also think that the people that are calling for violence that don't understand violence, they're so crazy. You're literally like a child who is calling for a fight with someone who knows how to fight. If you call for violence in this country, there are, what are the number of veterans in this country? I mean, it's got to be more than 1 million. There are so many people in this country that really understand violence, and they're not the ones calling for violence. They're not the punch a Nazi people.
Right.
The people that really understand violence, that have seen violence, that have committed violence for their country, those are the motherfuckers that you break glass in case of war. You need them, and people don't understand that. Like these people running around calling for violence, calling for a revolution. Like, you are going to open a door that you can never close. And when those fucking soldiers come pouring out of that door and they want to defend what they think is an attack on their freedoms and their country, you're fucked.
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm happy to get back to the point I made earlier, that we have so many good distractions that I don't think we're going to get to the point of a civil war.
God, I hope not.
I think Netflix kind of sucks recently. Like, a lot of shows are not that good. The late night
Hold
shows
on,
are.
hold on.
I would rather do a civil war than listen to Fallon.
What about Cope?
I actually agree with
I
that.
agree with that.
Yeah.
What about Cope? I think he agrees with that. I think Fallon was like, please.
I know,
Yeah,
please.
this. Give me a musket.
I know I'm not
Cobra
good.
Kai. If you watch Cobra Kai,
Cobra Kai's great.
it's fucking
That's
great.
great. There's a few
I
things
did
that are
watch
good.
that.
Cobra Kai's like a time warp. It's like you go
really
back.
good, yeah.
It's like an 80s movie. But
Breaking
it's
news. Breaking news. Marijuana legalization referendum way ahead in New Jersey.
Wow. Yes. Fuck
Way
you,
ahead.
Chris Christie. How about that, Chris?
Well, listen, here's the reality. Chris Christie's a healthy guy and he wants to keep people healthy.
He beat COVID. That should be the end of the lockdown right there.
He did beat COVID.
Yeah.
He did
So
beat
did-
COVID.
so did my
I want
friend who's
whatever
80.
drugs they got.
Well, I have a friend who's 80 and he just beat it.
Yeah.
Beat
Did
it
he
with
take
nothing.
the drug?
He didn't take
Nothing?
shit. Took some IV vitamins. Said he was sick for 4 days. 80.
Wowzer.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is highly confident marijuana will be legalized. Look at him clapping. I'm gonna get high as
So,
fuck.
Joe,
Yeah.
let me give you
high as fuck. They say right now.
I'll tell you about the direct ballot initiatives if you want, Joe. We got weed in a bunch of places. So we got legalizing weed in Arizona,
Yeah.
legalizing weed in Montana, and in New Jersey. That's 3. And then also I think we have South Dakota and Mississippi are voting on medical marijuana, not legal recreational, but medical. They don't even have medical there yet. And then apparently the polls show that all 5 of those are likely to pass.
Yeah.
See, and
Montana.
this gets to a point in our last podcast we spoke about this. Direct ballot initiatives. There's never been a better idea because usually when you put things directly to the people, they're overwhelmingly reasonable and sensible.
Yeah. Here we go. DC initiative 81 decriminalize psychedelic plants. Oh shit. Wow.
And fun fact.
Look at the numbers. 76%.
Oh, yeah, in Oregon, they're voting on
shit.
decriminalizing all drugs
All
in
drugs.
small amounts.
But look at this. That means in DC you're going to be able to get mushrooms.
How did the initiative do to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer?
I want to.
Where is that? Is
Passed
that
with
60%?
82%.
Yeah.
Who was it that it was Alex Jones who said that it was an FBI organization, and the 2 guys turned out
Two
to
of the
be
guys
FBI
were,
informants.
yeah, 2 of the guys were FBI
He
informants.
called
supposedly.
John Jones.
Really?
John Jones. Alex Jones. Alex Jones
They
called
thought.
it. Yeah.
Well, this is what the FBI does all the time. They try, they go into a mosque and they go, here's a bomb, and then they come back in and they go, that guy was working.
do.
I mean, this is what they do. They entrap people.
Entrapment.
This is
They
how
did it
they
to that
operate.
guy in Dallas. The
Yeah, they
FBI
did it to Dallas, too.
Yeah. They gave him a bomb that didn't even work.
Yeah. And this is the way they operate. And this is why, like, Boston bombing and all these things that are weird and you don't know anything about them. A lot of it's because the FBI doesn't want you to know how they recruit informants and how they operate. They don't want to
It's
know.
dirty. It's
dirty.
Seriously a dirty business. And that's why I go crazy when people cite the CIA or the FBI as if they're these objective,
Yeah.
like serious people bodies. No, they're incredibly political, and they've been involved in a whole bunch of shady shit, and they still are to this day. It's not like
Like,
it'll
it's
stop
like when the
after
CIA is
1960s.
tweeting like gay pride or it's like insane. Like the FBI is like, yeah, it's great. Like it's just, it's absurd. And then mainstream liberals fall for this horseshit.
It's like corporations doing Black Lives Matter stuff. Like,
yes.
okay, you got black people working for you, and you're paying them a wage that they can't even live on.
Right.
Do their Black Lives Matter?
Right.
Raise their fucking wages.
Right. Well, that's why I support Tim Cook and Apple because they're not doing anything wrong to our people.
Little slavery never hurt anybody.
Is anybody ever going to address that, you think? I mean, I really do believe, not to beat that old dead horse, but if one cell phone company came along and made a cell phone and started shitting on all these other companies to make these phones using slave labor, say, no, our phones are made by union workers, they cost more, we make less, but we can sleep good at night.
Yeah, so I don't know because I feel like it has to be addressed at the top level. That's one you can't do at an individual level or the bottom up. Like, market forces are not enough to fight something like that. Mm-hmm. You actually need action from people with authority and power.
But it's such a complex thing to make a cell phone. It seems like and also you have to get in Verizon and AT&T. Remember, like, Verizon had a deal with Huawei. They're about to go nationwide with Verizon, and then the government came in and said, and then boom, they're gone, and now they're banned, and you can't even buy routers and modems. And
Actually, they're doing, I think, some sort of antitrust case against Google now. The government sued Google. I'm not sure if it's to break them up or whatever, but
I think it's about their search engine.
I think that, listen, we do have a lot of things that are effective monopolies, and that's a real problem. That's a real problem. The consolidation of power with a few corporations.
Certainly say that about social media companies.
Absolutely.
You really say that about Twitter. through no fault of their own, is a monopoly. It's not like they bought out all the competition. But somehow or another, they made something that was so effective that nobody else really came up with a viable alternative, and they become the #1 source of distributing hateful messages.
And what's scary is how much like mainstream journalists view their job as to like run to the mods to tell them when somebody's acting up or saying something that's not true. You know what I mean? And I know you and Glenn talked about this, as some I've talked about a lot as well, that really, I mean, it is the case that now the new public square is Twitter, Facebook, these big social media companies. So honestly, if we believe in the principle of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, you should expand that and basically treat these companies like public utilities and expand free speech protections to make them apply to everybody. The only time, like, listen, direct threats of violence, we all agree you can't have that. Right. But outside of that, I mean, if somebody's just obviously no doxing, no hurt, no threats, direct threats.
Doxing, direct threats of violence, harassment, distribution of someone, like if someone breaks in your iCloud and gets all your dick pics, Kyle.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Don't do that.
That's wrong.
That's wrong. But other than that, yeah, I agree. And I think the problem is that the medium is so flawed that, like, it's a great way if everybody plays by some real moral, ethical standards of just don't say anything to someone you wouldn't say to their face, and try to do it in a kind way, and don't try to hurt people's feelings. If, like, we could all act in that, like, even if you disagree with someone, like, that's fucking stupid, this is why it's dumb. But people, when they read mean things, it literally does hurt them. It gives them pain. And we discredit that pain. We dismiss that pain as long as it's convenient to us. Now, if someone is giving that pain out to someone who's saying something that we don't agree with, then we fully support it.
We love it, exactly.
But if someone is dishing that pain out to someone who we think is a protected person, we get
offended. Yeah,
we get very offended, and we apply different standards.
That's right. I mean, listen, I just don't read it. Do you read your stuff?
No,
yeah,
I don't read anything.
Because when you hit a certain point, it's like, oh, this is not adding anything to my life.
I would be an insane person.
Me too.
Like, every time I have a podcast that's controversial, there's thousands of people that...
You can't escape it, because then the LA Times will write an article and blame you for things, and you're like...
I think it's important to read all of the negative comments and then respond in kind to them.
The LA Times will write an article, well, not I want to say the LA Times, some publications will write an article based on a couple of mean tweets.
That's right.
Take a couple of mean tweets and pretend that they're relevant and write a whole article about it, ignoring any positive tweets or negative tweets or
narrative farming,
or tweets rather that are in conflict with that.
Yeah, that's narrative farming. But they want a certain narrative, and they're going to search it out.
But I support that too, because that's the First Amendment.
That's
freedom of speech.
Do whatever they want. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just think that we have this weird time. We're in this weird time, this sort of adolescent stage of information distribution, where it's so like what Alan Levinovitz calls processed information. The way it's bad for you, the same way as processed food is bad for you. And I felt like that was a really great way of making an analogy. Because it's that processed food, we all agree. It's like you can eat it, it's not good for you, and if you do it all the time, you're going to get sick. And that's the same thing with processed information. If you're a person now, particularly during COVID, it's a huge issue, because many people they really were detached from the outside world, especially people with compromised immune systems who are scared to go outside, older people. They just only communicate with people online. And so you're communicating with people through Facebook messages. And and you're just fucking arguing with people, and you don't see anybody. No one's in front of you. And how many people are even good at that?
Right.
We're so bad at that. Just at talking face to face, people are bad.
Yep. Kellyanne Conway just came out and said you will hear from the president tonight.
Oh, that means he's probably going to try to declare victory.
I'm wondering if that is the case, but Kellyanne is saying that on Twitter.
Oh, Texas went red, bitch!
There you go.
See, now that's more what I thought would happen.
Listen, I'm not even rooting for anybody. This is one of the reasons why this is fun.
It doesn't sound like you are.
Yeah, really.
Texas went red. Woo! I'm neutral.
Anyway, I don't,
66%, though, there could be more.
Yeah, but it won't be. It's gonna lean red.
But I'll tell you right now, that's maybe the last election Republicans can safely say they have Texas.
Oh yeah, they barely got it now.
I mean,
we're nowhere near. What is the numbers, Jamie? Go back to that as far as percentage counted. Yeah, it's only 66%. They could lose it already still. Like 34% is a lot of fucking people.
Dude, it's like 4-3 to 4-2, 3-9. That's not.
34% is a lot. And imagine all these fucking liberals out here that came with me from California that
It's
got
all
off
Tom
work.
Segura. It's his fault.
Oh,
It's just
he
Tom
hasn't
and
moved here
Christina.
yet. They haven't moved here yet.
So Florida's going to Trump.
Oh, Kansas went red. How weird.
Florida's going to Trump.
I think the ones that are in bold red colors, they've called. Some of these they've called already.
Yeah. I'm kidding about Kansas. Of course it's red.
Now, what about Ohio?
So it looks like Florida's red.
See, Ohio, that's more reflecting what the polls were. It showed Trump a little bit up. Now Trump's up in
Okay.
Ohio.
So
wait,
Trump
let me see.
wins.
Let me see this.
Ohio, Florida, Texas. What else does he have to win?
Pennsylvania. He needs Pennsylvania.
He's gotta get
Pennsylvania.
PA.
Pennsylvania doesn't look
If
good.
he doesn't get PA, can he get anything else to make up for PA?
Go to Pennsylvania again,
Maybe,
please?
but he doesn't. It's not possible. Like he could jack Nevada, but that's not going to be good enough.
He's way off in Pennsylvania, though. Look at that. Only 17% reporting.
Yeah,
now.
but no. He actually, that's not terrible because they count. I think they count the mail-ins first there.
Well, look at the
Oh,
numbers.
hold on. Let me fact check that. Give me
It's
a
only
second.
17%, but he's off by, what is that, 50?
There's time.
60,000?
There's time.
60,000.
There's a lot of time. There's a lot left to
a
report.
lot of farmers.
What about California?
Okay, hold on.
How's California?
Pennsylvania.
looking?
Pennsylvania.
Still open, I think.
Go open.
It's only
Go to California.
6 o'clock. Nothing there yet.
Go to, excuse me, go to
Oh,
Ohio.
whoa. You're right about Pennsylvania, Joe. You're right about Pennsylvania. They count. The results are released from election day first, and then they do the mail-ins. So
That's
if
not
Biden
good.
already has a lead, then that's looking good for Biden.
It's a problem. And if Biden wins Pennsylvania, he's got it.
That's
No.
it.
Well,
It's
the
over.
weird thing is, though, Pennsylvania only has 17% reported. Pennsylvania might be one of those
They're a
ones
slow
where...
counter. They're a slow counter. They are. Because they had to wait to count the mail-ins.
Or,
Is there any- Yeah.
we see the governor of Pennsylvania driving a Ferrari in 2 weeks and
Right.
Biden wins.
Is there, yeah, with a new laptop?
He's got
Is-
a fucking
Is there
cowboy
any?
hat covered in diamonds.
Is there any way that Trump wins the popular vote and loses the electoral college?
Less than a 1% chance.
Okay. What's
there's
the
a-
popular vote right now? What are we at, Jamie?
It doesn't matter what it is now. It's not going to
I know,
reflect what
but
it
I
is at
just
the
wanted
end.
to know. I got a question. He's ahead.
1.2 million.
He's ahead by 1 million. You don't
So
know
this
shit,
is
Kyle.
looking.
I know a lot.
This
Way
is,
ahead.
this is kind of looking like Biden.
Looks like Biden if he gets Pennsylvania.
No. Not for nothing. Right now, this is not terrible for Trump.
Okay.
The only issue for him as of this moment is Pennsylvania.
Dun dun dun.
What if he gets